Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to the 2022 British Cycling National Track Championships from Newport in South Wales. Again, our thoughts and prayers go out to Ukraine. But for now, we are in the Geraint Thomas Velodrome bringing you live coverage over the weekend as we see the competitors battle it out for the coveted national stripes. In this session 3, we have paracycling, men's sprints, the men's kilo time trial, the women's team pursuit and the women's scratch race qualifying. I'm Brian Smith, and joining me for these championships is Rebecca Charlton, former championship competitor, as we guide you through the weekend's events. We have Olympic, World, European and former national championship stars here for you, so sit back and enjoy. Rebecca, what are you most looking forward to today's session?
I'm excited to see bunch racing today, Brian. Yesterday was fantastic. We saw a lot of qualification, during which some of those champions, those medalists that you mentioned, put in record time. So it was a really exciting day, and then right through to finals in the team sprint, the individual pursuit for the men and the women. But today, we've got some big bunchies going on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into the bunch racing. Just watching the commissars. Checking the rider's height, because the rider's height depends on what they're allowed to set, you know, their dimensions at. Yeah, so you'll see the bikes getting checked, as you say, Brian, and actually it's one of those things that even when you think you might have got it exactly right, you could go to a check and have to make a tiny little tweak to the setup of your track bike, because actually you've got to make sure it's in legal regulations and distances between bars and saddles and things like that. So that's what you'll see those commissaires just keeping an eagle eye on and making sure they check before the competition starts. So yeah, there'll be riders that perhaps have been out of competition for quite a while and will need to just make sure everything's tweaked in the right place. But there's different rules for different sizes of riders, and you know the length that they're allowed to go with their setup on their bike. So yeah, we're just seeing the commissaires measuring up the height of the rider. I had that situation with Steve Cummings in a race Tirreno Adriatico, where they measured him in the last day, and he dropped below the 190 it was required for his setup. He was registered as 190, but they measured them at 189, and we had to change the position before the final time trial, and it was a very difficult time. But yeah, you have to have it precise, and so not only are they measuring positions, they're measuring the length of the bikes as well. They certainly are, and something that we spoke about yesterday a lot throughout all the rounds was aerodynamic position, and we are in an age where those aero gains are improving, and people are pushing the absolute limit of the setup to get the marginal gains that they can. And so that is why these checks are so crucial, because if somebody disagrees with a number on the day, then ultimately you have to go away and change that in time for your race. We're just looking at some of the paracyclists. We had a great event yesterday, didn't we? The first event that we've had, a mixed scratch race. So, we'll be having some pursuiting today for the paracycling. But I think one of the highlights yesterday was the finish there, and I have to say that Martin Hellstone, the way they kept going, because there's two clear favourites, and they caught them going into the last lap. We have you see Ben Wiggins just on the left hand side, so Bradley's son, bandaged up a little bit. If you're watching Bradley, he's okay, you can see. But there was men's scratch race qualifying with 3 heats, and in the last one there was quite a nasty incident going into the last few laps, and about 8 or 9 riders came off the track. Yeah, so earlier on today, I know everyone's just joining us, hopefully for the coverage over the next few hours. But yeah, we of course have qualification rides going on in earlier sessions in the day. And so in the points race, we had 3 qualification bunch races that we'll see things for later on in the day. But yeah, Ben Wiggins coming down there, and I think we're just seeing a little look at that happening now, that crash, a touch of wheels. A large amount of that bunch came down, but it was within the last kilometre, so the race finished, it did conclude. Luckily we did see everyone get up, but we'll be checking the status of those riders and how they're getting on. But you can see now the damage it's done to the boards and how immediately that needed to be repaired for safety reasons. Yeah, bit of sanding, bit of gaffer tape, and
off we go again. It's, there is a team here in, in any wooden velodrome that immediately are out there and making sure that it's safe for every rider, because the last thing that anybody wants is another incident. Skelfs, I've been there, my mother in the past, picking skelfs out, places that I could not reach myself. So, yeah, you see Ben Wiggins there struggling a little bit, but he has qualified, and he'll go on to race again. So it's one of these things. And I think we were listening to Dan Bigham yesterday, who, one of the highlights yesterday for me, when he broke that record, and he said something that we often talked about yesterday, Rebecca, that it's backing up the rides. And he said it's the first time he's kind of really backed up a ride. And here in these championships, normally the British Championships are over a week. Here they're 3 days, so it's short, it's intensive. And we've got qualifying has been happening earlier on today, and we've got so much happening. So qualifying, then into the medal riding off. There's so many races, and I can understand why the Olympics they go qualifying, the first 4 go on and off the medal, so the first 2 fastest and otherwise. So there's a wee bit more riding here at the British Championships, and it's telling that some riders went a little bit faster, some riders went a bit slower, but I think he was happy. He did, break the British record in the 4 kilometres pursuit yesterday and almost equalled it. So it was, he backed up these rides, and that was what he said yesterday. And I think that's what everybody wants to do, because we're talking about the mentality yesterday as well, that you have the morning session, you qualify, you go away for 2 or 3 hours, you come back and you have to do it all again. So it's not just the physical of backing the rider up, it's the mental as well.
It is, and as you say, it's so packed in here at this National Championships, isn't it, over in Wales, because essentially 3 days with a qualifying session on, and actually the Thursday as well, to seed some things. And there was automatic qualification for some riders, but then they go straight into having to set more and more times throughout the day going through, eventually for some riders to the final. So yeah, it is a psychological game as well, because just to keep everything together for that amount of time, and we saw match sprint after match sprint yesterday, as well as the brilliant pursuiting, and that level of concentration so you don't get outsmarted by your opponent is no small feat. And we just see these riders now on the rollers in between, making sure that recovery is optimum before they get up again, of course then focusing on a really efficient warm-up. But yeah, it's a really packed 3 days of racing, and yesterday was a really exciting one. And Dan Bigham was interesting to hear, wasn't he, sort of before and after, because actually he wasn't just being cagey. I think he genuinely had a test of form yesterday and breaking the British record, as did Charlie Tanfield. Those times were tumbling during qualification rounds. Was just really epic, actually. And then, as you say, backing up those performances. But what a mighty finale between him and Tanfield, who he knows very well.
Yeah, we're just seeing some of the paracyclists warming up here. We have just seen the qualifying for the women's team pursuit. So, results have just been handed to me. In the qualifying results of Liv CC Halo, they set a time of 4:53.690. In the second heat, it was Brother UK Orientation Marketing with Ellen Bennett, Grace Lister, Holly Ramsby, Isabel Sharp, and they set a time of 4:41.470. So, the final draw, it will be a Brother UK against the Liv CC, and with a difference of 12 seconds there, you have to say that Brother UK looking good for that one.
Yeah, there's some really interesting talent within the Brother UK team, and that's a sponsor that's really given so much back to women's cycling over the last few years, not sponsoring or supporting one team but many within the peloton. But Holly Ramsey is a name that I've kind of had on my highlighted list, because I hear that in training her sort of PBs and times are just absolutely tumbling. And something that we said yesterday time and time again was that these championships here over in Wales are such an unknown in many respects, because we didn't have the champs last year due to COVID postponing the Olympics and then making dates very difficult to happen and to get people in a venue, in a velodrome. So we did see that postponed till this year, meaning that we're now looking back as reference points to defending champions from 2 years ago, and a lot has changed in 2 years. So we've seen some young riders really coming back with a bang.
Yeah, we're just looking at the first athlete from paracycling, and it splits from C1 to C5. C1 is the most severe of the disability, out to C5. So full of concentration for Sam Ruddock, BC member. And off he goes with his effort, Sam Ruddock, preferring to use just a normal track bike, not wanting to use the aerodynamics. So this will be a hard effort for Sam, but he'll give it his all.
Yeah, we've got a really wide open field over, yesterday and the next 2 days of this national championships, and we were kind of noting the fact that people are coming in here for so many different reasons in terms of aiming for personal bests, aiming to just be back into this level of competition as well. And we've had a few riders with an eagle eye on qualification times for the upcoming Commonwealth Games as well. So it's been, interesting to see some races within the race. And of course, you've got different setups, different equipment. And as we move on to the para pursuit, it's exciting to see these riders come out of the blocks. But just those start gates are immense, aren't they, when we see them time and time again to get these riders up to speed. And it's been the order of the day for the last 2 days, really is many pursuits, and they've not disappointed.
Well, he looks smooth now. He out the start gate, a bit of a wobble and bits to get into his rhythm, but he's well into his rhythm now. The para athletes will be doing 3 kilometres, which is 12 laps of the track, and Sam has got 7 laps to go, so it can be a lonely ride out there, but you have to concentrate on your own job, and that's getting the power out and finishing with the fastest team. He will be up against Matthew Robertson from Willett CC and Ryan Taylor from Matlock CC. Sam is the only C1 category athlete here. He's up against 2 other C2 athletes. So Sam's time will be slightly, factored in at 98.3%, where the others will, be 100% of their time. So that'll be factored in against the time of the other 2 competitors still to ride.
Yeah, it's worth explaining that within the para championship categories, it is broken down into the sort of severity of impairments, and then there is that factoring, as Brian says. So it'll be interesting to see these times come out in the official results. But pursuiting is just such a mind game, isn't it? Keeping that pure focus. It's something that I never managed to do because I think my mind wanders too much against the clock. But that absolutely psychological game is a very hard one to play, and these riders do it spectacularly.
I know some of these riders will have the opportunity to use triathlon bars, but Sam here is he's comfortable on his bike. Why change if it makes him uncomfortable? And it's a situation that as a para athlete that they look at. Being more comfortable means more than maybe looking at the aerodynamics, and also just kind of setting a personal best. We have had some personal bests at the Nationals already. We have a record broken yesterday with Dan Bigham in the men's pursuits, but who knows. This track here in Newport, although it's the first time we've been here in Newport, because traditionally before 1973 it's kind of spread out into kind of hard tracks, and then we had the wooden track at Leicester in 1973 to 1994. We had the championships at Leicester. British Cycling was based in Kettering, then it moved in 1995 to Manchester, to 2020, not held last year, and for the first time it's been held here in Newport. It is known as a holding camp for the last 3 Olympics for the British team, so they have come here, they know the track. But yeah, it's fantastic to see the para athletes here. Great race yesterday, and I'm sure these pursuits will go to the wire as well.
I'm sure they will, as he comes into the final straight. Let's get confirmation of that time very shortly.
So he finishes with a time of 4:14.984. So that's the benchmark. Just to remind you, that will be factored in. So there'll be a few seconds cut off that. So that is the benchmark for the next two athletes still to come out. So a good effort there. He looked smooth. Once he got up and going, Sam Ruddock, BC member, looked pretty smooth in that one.
Yeah, he really did. And it is interesting to kind of look in on that factor really for everybody in terms of comfort versus aerodynamics, because of course you can look at either wind tunnel testing for some very fortunate people, or track testing in fact, when you obviously just put down a lap time, tweak something, have a little look. You know, it is becoming in ways a little bit more accessible for people to try out aero gains, but ultimately if you find that ultimate aero position and you cannot hold it for the duration of the pursuit because it's just that uncomfortable, or you can't sustain your head in that position, for example, as Brian says, you know, there's no point in forcing yourself into that, because you've got to weigh up what's going to give you the most gains in terms of a time when it's purely against the clock.
So next up, and we're having two athletes on the track. We will have Matthew Robertson of Woolwich CC on the home straight. On the back straights, we will have Ryan Taylor from Matlock CC. So the benchmark already been set, 4:14 for Sam Ruddock. He is a C1 category. These are two C2 categories. You can see here that Matthew has decided that he wants to use more of a triathlon type setup, aero bars on the front, and it's the same for Ryan Taylor on the back.
And something that I'm taking a little look at is people that decide to use straps over their shoes, as well as clipping into the pedals. And it's something that I always used to think about, because if you've put everything into your training and preparation for the day, and we do see it even at the highest level, that a foot pulls out when you put all the power through the pedals to come out of that start gate on that standing start, and that could be completely game over for you without a restart. So it's interesting to see how many people now opt for strapping their feet in, which I think I would as well.
It's not often we get problems with the start gate, a little problem, so it just delayed the action, the start of the action.
Yeah, and they just want to make sure everything's right. Again, you don't want that sort of false start putting you off, so they're just checking everything's right with that gate and get the bike slotted in. But it is really nice to be over here in Wales, isn't it, Brian, at the Geraint Thomas Velodrome, because we've talked a lot about inspiration and legacy, and these velodromes make such a difference, and they are inspiring a new generation of riders to get on their bikes and progress, you know, somewhat up to this level. And when I first raced in Nationals, I'd been inspired by going to the championships at Leicester outdoors the previous year, and then Manchester Velodrome was built when I started to get onto the track racing Nationals myself. And from that point onwards, we went from a lot of outdoor tracks to having so many indoor facilities, and it's just gone from strength to strength with the amount of venues that we have indoor for the riders to really utilise, and to get youth riders on the track as well. And that's yeah, that's only a good thing for cycling in this country.
I was just about to ask you, how many people does it take to fix a start gate?
Well, let me tell you when we get a view back on that start gate.
Do you know what I would do to save time? Just take that broken start gate off and allow Matthew Robertson to set a time, and then if that start gate's working, let Ryan Taylor go and use that one as well. So, but it's up to the track manager to make that decision, because poor old Matthew Robertson, we can see them talking to him, and you know, what is he going to do? And I think they are taking the start gate off the back straights, as we see, and it looks as if they're going to have to try and fix that. And in fact, I'm just looking at Matthew now on the start gate. He's actually getting off his bike, so they're probably delaying this championship until both gates. I would have probably let him ridden, because he was up for it. He was on his bike, ready to go, and then allow Ryan Taylor to start. But there's going to be a delay in the proceedings, and we're just hearing that they're going to have to regas the start gate. So they've ran out of gas already.
Gas.
I know that happens to me all the time, running out of gas, but
I mean, I certainly understand that at the moment, running out of gas. But yeah, I think they sort of had to make a decision there, whether he made the start, as you say, or whether he actually gets off the bike and sits down, because, as you know, sitting in that position with all the nerves that are going through ahead of a pursuit and all that focus, you've warmed up, you've got into position, you don't want to be left sat there for too long. So he's gone and grabbed a chair, which is important for now. Keeping his legs warm, and hopefully we'll get that restart underway once they've checked the gas. Here we go.
But the one thing it does, Rebecca, is it pushes everything back. And if you start to kind of push everything back, it's about the warm-up. It's getting, to the start line, doing your warm-up. And because of, the failure of one of these start gates, it means that, it could be 4 or 5 minutes of a delay. So you know what your time is. And I know they try to keep to the schedule. You can see here that Matthew Robertson is still going through the process, but he's already warmed up, he's ready to go, and all of a sudden he's been told that there's a problem and you have to sit down. Psychologically, that is, you have to delay things. It's okay for maybe some of the later athletes still to come, they can adjust, but for the athletes coming straight after, we can also see that looks like a few of them are starting to sit down on the chairs after their warm-up, and whether they go away and maybe warm up a little bit more, it's going to be down to their decision.
Yeah, they'll be sort of asking, how long it might likely be as to whether you would get back up on the rollers. Let's hope it's not too long, because I think you can't really underestimate how important that preparation is for something, especially like the pursuit, when you're going out against the clock as an individual and looking to lay down the best time you possibly can, because it is that psychological preparation as well as just timing it. I mean, you look so much, don't you, at what time you get on and off the rollers.
I don't think watching someone do it is going to make it any faster. What do you think, Rebecca?
I watched Pot Never Boils.
Oh,
we should stop looking. There we go.
They're pumping up tyres.
But
I was amazed talking about tyre pressures and things. When you think your car tyres are, 3.2, 3.6, and then you ride, Paris-Roubaix, they're talking about 4.5. He's enjoying himself. But 4.5 maybe to 5 depending on the weight of the rider.
Set in PSI.
All in going bars. And then you go at probably 8 bar for road race. I used to ride 8 bar in the back, 7.5 in the front. But the track tyres here are 14 bar. 14.
I'm gonna have to convert that. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I go by PSI. I'm a rough gauge on where the bar is, but I am amazed at how much tyre pressures are coming down now on the road, because I come from a track background, as you know, and 140 PSI, which again have to do the conversion, sounds absolutely fine to me. And then when I've started going on to even things now like a gravel bike, and people are like, whoa, get the air out of those tyres, and it's something that I'm having to hold my nerve with. But yeah, I mean, you've got tub tyre pressures and disc wheels on this track, and it's pretty high compared to what we're seeing other people go down to on the road.
So there's a lot down there that have got the the special inflation cylinders and things like that. Well, we saw someone using a track pump. A track pump is, in my eyes, I get tired out pumping my tyres up to 8 bar. You're looking at 14 bar, which is, and that's why when you hear a puncture on the track, you hear a puncture because it goes. But I know in road racing they have gone 23 up to 28 tyres. Going bigger tyres, they're going bigger rims. I was down in the infield talking to a few people. On the back, they're still using 23, but on the discs in the front, they're using 19mm tyres.
It's so, it does, I geek out. It does fascinate me seeing the differences, and it feels to me like things do change a lot, don't they? People sort of go with a wave of what they're trying, and then a lot of people will go on to kind of emulate that.
Sorry, Rebecca, I love this. I love seeing this. It's visualization. It's he's already done it once, twice. He's off the bike, and he's having to do it again. So he's having to refocus, and do it all over again. It's not easy doing that, and we stress that, but the gas has been filled, and the gate in the back street is back out in the back straight, and hopefully we'll have a race. But it's a bit of a delay for everybody now, and for Ryan Taylor, he looks calm as a cucumber.
Yeah, It's certainly not easy, but I think these riders here at these championships, I mean, they're evidently so well versed in keeping their head in it, because I think it would be so easy as a rider to sit there and have a chat to your competitor and sort of take your eye off the ball, so to speak. But actually, as you can see, he was just really not allowing any external factors to interrupt that prep, even though he had to get on and off the bike, sitting there just regrouping in his mind and getting, you know, virtually into that TT position.
Well, a bit of a reset. We've already had Sam Ruddock, and he has set a time of 4:14 over the 3 kilometres. On the back straight in the back, we have Ryan Taylor from Matlock CC. On the home straight, we have Matthew Robertson from the Woolwich CC. So hopefully we'll get the start. This is the National Championship for the C1 to C2 3 kilometre pursuit. So 2 riders on the track this time. Sam Ruddock's time will be factored to a degree of 98.39% of his time, but both Matthew and Ryan's time will be 100%. So 4:14 is the benchmark already set in this competition. And we have liftoff. Both of them are starting, and we can see in the back straights Ryan Taylor. It's always difficult. We're talking about getting used to this position, tri-bars, and you know, your disability. But once they're up to speed, they are up to speed. So same for everybody. It's always a difficult start for everybody. But as soon as they kind of lock down into that position, like you see Matthew doing now, once she's in that position, then everything should run smoothly for them.
Yeah, it's a really tough task to start a pursuit, isn't it? You're winding up a huge off and gear from an absolute dead start on a starting gate, and it feels so tough the first time you feel yourself try and come out one of those onto the kind of track gear you need to put in the time you want for a pursuit. But as you say, just getting into that groove, into that TT position might take yourself a lap or so, but you can just see how smooth these riders are now, and they're up to speed.
Yeah, just look as if Matthew Robertson set in the quickest time. And it's always difficult because we see, you know, able-bodied riders when they, you know, they use legs, arms, everything to start off. So, you know, if you've got a disability in one part of your body, it does take you a little bit of time to get out these start gates, because you're pushing on nothing. It's, you know, it's sheer power to get out there. But you know, once they're up to speed, you know, these athletes are pretty fast.
They certainly are, and what's always really fascinated me actually about watching this discipline of paracycling in the pursuit is, of course, you know, the challenges are so much more to get into that position, into the, you know, ultimate TT position that they've chosen and then they've trained in. But then you see the times as they wind that gear up just get faster and faster and faster, and ultimately, you know, ramp up as the pursuit goes on. And it's a really exciting discipline to watch. And I think if you look at the level of training these guys are doing, they will obviously be doing sessions where they are just purely getting into that position out of a start gate time and time again. So it's second nature.
Well, you see Matthew Robertson, he's already kind of well up in the time of Sam Ruddock, 18 seconds. So it does look as if, you know, he's been looking good for this gold medal. Ryan Taylor is you know, suffering a little bit more than Matthew, but still riding well. Matthew can see him just on the same straight, so it does look as if Matthew Robertson looking good for this gold medal.
Yeah, fine ride by Matthew Robertson, and a national stripe jersey is so coveted at the best of times. But as I keep going back to the fact that we didn't see the championships happen at all on the track last year, and now we're back after many postponements from COVID and moving the venue, we're here, and it makes it even more special for these riders to battle for that gold medal, the podium spot, and to take away a jersey.
Yeah, so Matthew just coming around. He's got 2 laps to go now, 500 metres. Still, almost 30 seconds up now. So still looking good. He's got Ryan Taylor within his sights, and you know, Ryan has to keep the tempo going as well, because you know, he wants, you know, the silver medal rather than the bronze medal. But yeah, bell for Matthew Robertson. He has looked good. He's looked smooth the whole time. He is just going down the back straight. He sees his competitor Ryan Taylor in the distance, but it's just about him now into turn 3 and then 4, and then he'll be coming down the finishing straight to clock a time, and a very respectable time of 3:41.418 to take that gold medal. Ryan Taylor, he comes in with a time of, he's just coming up now to finish, and as soon as he finishes, we'll just confirm that for, not too sure that time is right, just looking on there, 4:45.842 for Ryan Taylor from Matlock CC. So it looks as if we have Matthew Robertson is our champion in this discipline for C category 1 to 2. And silver will go to Ryan Taylor with another very respectable time of 3:45.842. And Sam Ruddock will have the bronze medal, who started earlier.
Yeah, Matthew Robertson there, you know, not only such a stunning ride, but actually to regroup, as we said before, from sat on the bike, getting prepped, sitting there a little bit longer than he would have liked, getting off the bike, having to keep his legs warm, keep focus, and then to come out and take that victory. First place there was, yeah, stunning ride.
I'll just go to show you that the average speed was 48.776. So it's touching on what, an average in 29 mile an hour, thereabouts. You've got a bike going out there and trying to do 29 mile an hour for 4 minutes. It's tough. These guys are fit, and you know, really obviously with these times. So a nice outing for Matthew Robertson so far, and a gold medal for him, and we'll see them later on in the medal ceremony.
I always like getting a glimpse of what's going on in the track centre, because it is a part of the sport that we don't always see. We enjoy these podium moments and seeing the ultimate victories, but the work that goes in to recover, to cool down, to warm up, to get good nutrition in between each race, it's a very long game indeed.
So we're moving on to the C3 category. We'll have 3 heats. The first heat will be Colin Wallace from Deeside Thistle CC. Deeside Thistle, normally in the green kit, up from Aberdeen, or down from Aberdeen. So he'll be riding alone because there are 5 competitors. So Colin Wallace, what can he do? He'll be setting the benchmark. We have 5 competitors at C3. Colin Wallace, the first one off. Then we'll have Ben Hetherington, Charlie Stanton Stock, Finlay Graham, who's already a national champion from yesterday, Henry Durand. So 5 competitors. So 3 medals up for grabs, 5 competitors. It's all to play for.
Down very smoothly onto the TT bars there, and it's interesting to see a lot of riders opting for these quite similar looking black skin suits, and you can just about see, if you squint in a bit, the aero properties, the lines, the way these skin suits are formed. And yeah, when you see a lot of these riders taking onto the pursuit in a plain skin suit, there's often a bit of aero testing that's gone into choosing that.
Yeah, you know, yesterday when he rode the mixed race, he was riding these, it looked as if he was riding these club kits, the Deeside Thistle, which I spot straight away. He kind of stands out, the kind of green kit, but this is more about the aerodynamics, and he's obviously gone to, you know, to use the skin suit or the speed suit that it suits him to get the most advantage, and you do need these advantages. And we talk about it's very different from kind of outdoors. You got the wind. You can't have a dead wind in a velodrome. We have had, luckily, we have had the heats for the men's points race, which, in a way, when you've got dead wind in a velodrome and you've got the points race, it starts to kind of swirl the winds round. So you are pushing away air. You know, I know there's a lot of aerodynamics when we come out to the, you know, the wind when we ride outdoors, but also on a track, Rebecca, you're pushing a little bit of kind of dead air out the way, so you have to be as aerodynamic as possible.
You do, and I think again when you're quite often making comparisons between the road or an outdoor track, as we saw in the past for championships, and then coming indoors. But actually, the first time I think anyone gets on the track, it can be quite surprising just how much you feel like you're cutting through the wind, especially the first time you do a timed event like the pursuit, because you really have to efficiently cut through the air as well as you possibly can. And a benchmark for me was when I started wearing contact lenses, and I found that the wind hitting my face was causing me really big problems with my eyes in a pursuit scenario or a team pursuit. So that just goes to show, it's not the case that because you're indoors there isn't any aero elements or any air to cut through.
So Colin Wallace already almost 3 minutes into his ride, probably a minute and a half or more still to ride, still looking smooth. We had the mixed race yesterday, the first of the championships. We have the 3 kilometre pursuit for male and female, which we are showing you now.
Yeah, we'll see some riders in the pursuit, as we are in this case, start on the track on their own. Other riders will, of course, have a ride on the other side of the track, but we've predominantly seen people needing to put the best time down that they can. So, again, it's a psychological element of not letting yourself look too much at what your opponent is doing, which, of course, the riders that have come to these championships, this level, this calibre, aren't too worried about. But it can be an element when you're focusing more on what somebody else is doing, and you've got to stick to your own game. And, yeah, that element might change when you've got another rider on the track, or you haven't indeed.
Yeah, he's just getting the bell now, so he'll be finished his effort pretty soon. And he is getting a bit of help. There is a bit of conversation. I'll just bring Colin in actually before we have a chat about it. But Colin Wallace coming up to the line, he'll set the benchmark time of 3:56. So very good time, very respectable time. 3:56.554 for the rider from Deeside Thistle, Colin Wallace. I was just looking at his coach at the sides. A lot of coaches are using, shouting at the side before they go into the final bank and showing the iPads, giving that information. But then yesterday we're seeing people, as they say, the old school of walking the line, and they're still walking the line. I think. Why is that? Why are people still walking the line, or why are people shouting and showing information? Surely that showing the information is better than maybe walking the line.
A very good question, and I was actually having a little bit of a Twitter conversation with Jacob Tipper this morning because I saw him put out a tweet. And for anyone that doesn't follow Jacob, he was on the team who Watt Bike squad when they were just smashing record times in the team pursuit, and of course are very well versed in aero positions, having their head down under an aero lid and getting that communication on exactly how to stay on schedule. And he made the point this morning, after looking at a few of the coaches walking the line, that he as a rider or as a coach or as an advisor would always say it would be better to have a very visible iPad with that coach essentially knowing exactly how to get that pinned into your eye line very easily, or even just shouting very loudly as to a split time whether you're up or down rather than walking the line. But yesterday we did see very experienced coaches walking the line and explain why that was because essentially when your head's right down you can see feet in theory, and somebody walking back or forward from the line to show you whether you're up or down, perhaps a lot easier in the sense that sometimes shouting a split with a big crowd who's very loud, you might just simply not hear it. So I don't know, Brian. I think maybe the conclusion is rider preference and how a coach works best with their athlete. What do you think?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. It has to be preference from the rider. I don't think it's the coach, but I think visually seeing things is better. But like you say, the aerodynamic positions, it's difficult to see. Okay, moving on to Heat 2, we have Ben Hetherington, a BC member in the home straights, and we have Charlie Stanton-Stock, another BC member in the back straight in the purple. So the benchmark time, 3:56. This is Heat 2 of 3, 5 competitors. So as expected, big gear, maybe slightly smaller gear here for Charlie Stanton-Stock. it's each to the preference, but looks like Ben Hetherington has decided to go for the larger gear. Clearly taking a longer time to get up to speed, already behind, but you know, just watching on our screens now, the Charlie Stanton stock is, you know, he's got big high cadence. In fact, it looks as if he's almost in the same straight as Ben Hetherington, but Ben Hetherington, I think, will get faster and faster.
Yeah, and this is something that we see a lot, is again going back to rider preference, because you can't, it strikes me, look around at what other riders are doing too much in any discipline with gearing, because it might not work for you, and there is absolutely no point if you know you can't keep on top, on terms with a massive gear that you haven't, you know, secured in training and got a lot of experience with. And obviously in paracycling, these riders know what allows them to get the fastest time on the day. So you know, gear choices will be so personal.
I tell you, already we've done 1 kilometre, and it looks as if the fast start there from Charlie Stanton's stock has been almost kind of pared back now from Ben Hetherington. So a bit of a slow start, bit of a larger gear, and it's all personal choice, as you say. And it looks as if he's now just gone ahead, but this is not against the person on the opposite side of the track that he started with. This is against, you know, all 5 competitors, all equal in the C3 category, so it'll pretty much be the fastest time wins the gold, second fastest will get silver, and so on to the bronze medal. So far it's looking good now for Ben Hetherington. Now he's on top of the gear, he's pushing hard, and it looks as if he's turned the tide. It looks as if he is almost in the same straight as Charlie Stanton stock, who started so sprightly.
Yeah, and it is so important to not look at what your competitors are doing, especially in the way of a start, because again, you just don't know, you know, what gear they're winding up, what their, you know, tactic is, how they're going to, you know, how long they're going to take to get into their optimum position. So yeah, you can't look across and think it's won or lost in the early laps in this discipline whatsoever. But yeah, it's all about the focus against the clock. These riders have got to put the best time down that they possibly can, and not worry too much about what's going on the other side. We've got an uneven number of people in this team pursuit heat, so which is why we saw one rider on his own and these 2 riders battling on the boards at the same time.
I think we're going to see a catch, Rebecca. We're 3 laps to go now, and you know, that's kind of strong start by Charlie Stanton is now been caught and passed by Ben Hetherington, and you know, I think there was almost 2 seconds in it right from the start. So you know, Ben Hetherington riding a far bigger gear and has got it up to speed, and it looks as if he could be setting the benchmark time. The benchmark was already set in the previous heat by Colin Wallace from D-Side Thistle of a 3:56. So with the bell going now, it's looking good for Ben Hetherington.
Yeah, bell now. It can be psychologically tough to know that your opponent is, well, caught, gone past and got the bell. But as I say, it's all about the time that these riders want to put in on the day and focusing on their own race. And yeah, Ben Hetherington, very, very smooth when he got up to speed. They're very, very powerful, and just coming in to finish now.
Yeah, good time, 3:49, which is 7 seconds to the better of Colin Wallace. Just getting the time of Stanton stock, 4:03.760, so he'll go into 3rd place in that category. So really nice ride there, and you know, he just kind of eased a little as he came down to the finish there.
Yeah, and it was a very neat pass, wasn't it? Sometimes we don't see, you know, the neatest passes when it's maybe not easy to come past. And of course, when that happens in a team pursuit scenario, again, at the very top level, we get catches. It does happen, and you just want to get past safely. But also, if you're going for a time that's pivotal in a competition of the pursuit, then you don't want that to slow you down. So you don't want to go too high, but equally, the last thing you want is a clash with another rider. But yeah, very neat pass there to go on to that result.
It was just that start there from Ben Hetherington. I think gearing by choice. He knew he knew once he got up to speed, he would have the speed to maintain it all the way, but yeah, it was a strong performance from Ben Hetherington, and he goes into pole position in the C3 category with a time of 3:49.157. So heat 3 of the C3 category, and I was saying at the start, former national champions. This is a current national champion, won the mixed scratch race yesterday, and just seeing him in the podium beaming with, you know, pride, puts a lot of effort into it, and that was Finlay Graham. Henry Orand from Loughborough Student CC in the purple in the back straight. So currently we have Ben Hetherington in the gold medal position, and in second place we still have Colin Wallace, and fourth Charlie Stanton-Stock. So what can these two athletes do about that? Finlay Graham against Henry Orand.
So this is heat 3, just a reminder, in the C3 men's category. As Brian says, we saw the inaugural 10-kilometre scratch race, which was mixed for paracycling for the first time here at the championships yesterday, and the victory and striped jersey got taken by Finlay Graham, just on your screen, starting now in the home straight.
Just looking at Finlay start there, that was a strong start in the back straight. You can see it, Henry Orand a little bit more gingerly starting his, and it's each to their own. We've seen that already. Some starting strong, some not, but I tell you what, Finlay looks good in this one. He wants to double up in this championship, and already setting the benchmark time straight away. So if he can maintain this, and you know, look at him going down the back straight, he's absolutely flying.
He is absolutely flying here at the Geraint Torres Velodrome. He actually said before yesterday, taking the first jersey for him for this championships, that he hadn't pinned a race number on at all since the Paralympic Games, when he took 2 silver medals out there in Tokyo, and he is on absolute fire. Look at that form, the power, the perfect start. This is going very, very well indeed for Finn Graham.
He's just about to do the catch, but it's not about the catch, of course, it's about the time. But I'm thinking that must have been a nice warm-up for him yesterday, because he looks on fire today.
Just making that catch again, very smooth. You want to come around as fast as possible, as neat as possible, and Finlay Graham's done that. It is all about the times these riders are putting down, but he wants this jersey. He wants a second national jersey at these championships here in Wales. And
for Henry Orand, already caught, but for him it's about setting that time and seeing, you know, out the 5 competitors we've got in this category, where he sits in a national level. These are the national championships, but you know, looking at Finlay Graham here, he's got it all. It's
yeah.
no surprise that, you know, he's got 2 silver medals in Tokyo, because he has got it all. You know, his aerodynamics, he really looks good on a bike.
He looks very, very good on a bike, and as you say, for Henry Orand, you know, this is about the time he's putting down, and he's got the expectation of coming in with that. You're not coming in saying, right, that's the rider on the other side, it's game over if there's a catch. He wants to put the best time he can down in this competition. But yeah, for Finn Graham, just talking about the form he's got, look at that position on the bike. He's just makes it look effortless in the pursuit, but he is training full-time, day in, day out, drilling this position, drilling his starts, getting that power up, and yeah, and to do it across the disciplines as well, I think, is what he's proven on the road, on the track, and in the disciplines he has. You know, it's been really good to watch his journey, and he's already giving so much back to the sport. He's an absolute inspiration.
Yep, clearly he's put a lot of time and effort in. And he's another rider that's getting the iPad shown. But yeah, he just looks the full package, in control of this one. The benchmark time to beat is 3:49, and he looks well within that. So another good, looks like another good result here for Finlay Graham, and coming up to the last couple of laps.
I'm really excited to see his final time. As we've said, he's an absolute pleasure to watch. But yeah, just sat here in the velodrome as he gets the belt. You know, the atmosphere is really building here over the weekend, and that will spur him on even more, I know.
Well, this looks like something special, Rebecca. You know, the time in the left-hand side, 3:20 with half a lap to go. So the benchmark time was 3:49, and Finlay Graham is going to eclipse that with a 3:28.898.
Well, Henry Urand now will go on to keep focusing on his ride, to complete his lap, and yeah, this has been a really, really exciting one to watch here. 3:28.898 for Finlay Graham. That was spectacularly special to watch.
But just going up there, Henry Urand's 3:51. That is still a very respectable time. That puts him third in this category. I know it looked maybe bad when he was, caught, but he decided that he wanted to focus, see where he matched against the others, and very respectable 3:51. It will put him in third place in this category. So, well done, Henry Urand, for keeping going, because psychologically, when you get caught, it can play to your disadvantage, but there's nothing stopping this man. Finlay Graham, another national title.
That is a name to remember, certainly. Following his journey so far has been brilliant, as I say, and he's just going from strength to strength with the time that he's putting into just perfecting these results. And he said he hadn't pinned a number on since the Paralympic Games in Tokyo. Well, he is back.
So next up, we will have the C4 category. 2 athletes in that, so just to confirm. And this is the mixed categories of M1 to M3. They have actually split it M1 and 2 and M3. So Finlay Graham is the fastest of the M3, but that was just an indication of, the times, the mixed times. But what British cycling are trying to do is they're trying to do what the governing body are doing, is kind of split the categories up. Of course, in some categories there's more than others, but it's nice to see so many of them here. We had 3 in the C1 to 2, we had 5 which we've just seen in the C3. We've got 2 here in the C4. Nicholas Fairfield from City Racing Club in Hull. And Martin Hailstone, I think, is one of my special ones after his performance yesterday from Chapeau Vive La Velo, when he lit things up, when he caught Finlay and Will Bierfeld in the scratch race going into the last kind of couple of laps.
Yeah, he really was your standout pick of the day yesterday, was Martin, wasn't he? And yeah, it was the first time we've seen the 10k scratch for the paracycling, and I think there was about 7 competitors that took to the start line, mixed as we say, and it's brilliant to see that, because I just think we will get more and more talent into the sport. We'll see that grow every year. Having it here as an inaugural event is really, really important. And yeah, this ride we've just had a glimpse of there, Martin Hailstone, he came back. He really, really came back when certain commentators in this seat had decided perhaps it wasn't doable, and it was a spectacular finale.
Yeah, don't write him off. But yeah, it was so entertaining. At one stage it was all over the track, and then it all came back together, and then it was all over the track again, and it came back together for the final. But this is 3 kilometre pursuit, 2 competitors, so man against man this time in this category. So Nicholas Fairfield from City Racing Club in Hull in the home straight. Martin Hailstone from Chapeau Vive La Velo, he's the rider in the black. I just think sometimes for some of these para athletes, until they're up to speed, when they come out that start gate, that's the difficulty they've got. That's where I think they kind of practice the most. Although saying that, Finlay Graham, I think, had the whole package.
Yeah, Finn Graham got into position very quickly, and I think, you can't underestimate the training that these guys put in technically to get that right. You can't leave that to chance on the day. But again, having missed a championship last year, I think there were so many unknowns, not only for us sat here making predictions, having a little call of what we thought might happen and play out on the day, but the riders themselves, I think, genuinely came out the other side of so many of yesterday's events, disciplines, surprising themselves, because it's one thing putting down a time in training, but to back that up in competition when, there's a national medal, a jersey, a podium position at stake, it's easier said than done. And I think some riders genuinely surprised themselves with the form they came back into in front of these crowds here in Newport.
Yeah, just looking at Martin Hailstone, it does look as if the catch is on in this one with Nicholas Fairfield. He has already got him in his sights. So looking good for the man from Chapeau Vive Lavello. He started strong, he entertained us yesterday, and you know, he's eaten up the track in front of him.
Just thinking about how just had another tyre bang in the track centre. I'm definitely picking that out now. We talked about tyre pressures and whether you're using a manual pump to get your bars or your PSI up to maximum.
I think that was a 12-bar explosion.
I
about 14.
still haven't worked out the conversion. I need someone on Twitter to tell me what bars mean, because I'm still at 140 PSI over here.
So the distance between Martin and Nicholas, it looks as if Hailstone is starting to tie up a little bit. This gap isn't coming down as quickly, so Nicholas Fairfield is starting to get his rhythm together and is holding that gap as we come up to almost 2 kilometres. So Nicholas Fairfield still looking strong, but with 8 laps to go up the track.
I think we've sort of discussed that point in quite fine detail, haven't we, of walking the line and people having schedules in pursuits. But for anyone that hasn't really followed this discipline very much, we are referring to a schedule because a rider essentially needs to know where they can wind it up to and where they can importantly hold it without going into the red and then fading away, because getting the timing right for a pursuit is what it's all about, really, as well as all the other elements of aero and psychology. You know, can't let, I guess, external factors make you go out of the gate too hard and then lose it in the later laps. But, you know, again, we've got such a wide open competition. Some riders will fade, but getting that schedule right is so key to these championships.
Yeah, just coming up now, and it's actually holding. Looking visually, we can actually see almost all the track from our commentary position that Nicholas Fairfield and Martin Hailstone, the gap is staying pretty much exactly the same. And you know, looking, you know, just remind everybody that the C1 to C3 categories are doing 3 kilometres, 3,000 metres of the track. Well, the C4 and C5s are doing 4 kilometres, so 4,000 metres. So that will be the, you know, the timing. But in this category, there's 2, and that's Martin Hailstone and Nicholas Fairfield. But this gap is maintaining exactly the same. And whether this kind of match race, whether Martin Hailstone knows that he's got this one, you can see Nicholas Fairfield just in front of him, and you know, both of them are starting to tie up a little bit, this gap maintaining with only about 3 laps to go.
Yeah, that gap really is holding now, isn't it? And yeah, two impressive rides out there again. If you look at the distances of pursuits, we used to see the elite women's field do 3 kilometres with 3 riders, and then we saw that parity within the men's and women's event that went up to 4K. And yeah, within the sport of paracycling, we're now seeing a mix of 3,000 and 4,000 metres.
So the bell now tolls for Martin Hailstone, and you can hear it for Nicholas Fairfield. So half a lap now for Martin Hailstone, and it looks as if the gap is maintained, so he's visibly just kind of slowing up a little bit. So it does look as if he's taken this category quite convincingly. So he finishes with a time of 5:18 to Nicholas's 5:23. So just over 5 seconds between both of these athletes.
So that was our men's C4 para pursuit category. We'll move on very shortly to C5 with the men as well before the women take to the boards.
So you can see the effort of both of these riders. That was hard, 4 kilometres. I know Dan Bigham said he loves pursuing. I think he's the only one, because most people, when you finish them, it's like, even for the next 20 minutes, half an hour, they used to call it the kind of pursuit cough. You get that kind of dry cough. I don't know if it's the kind of dry velodromes, but you really do suffer for it afterwards.
Yeah, I think the fitter you get, the better you get at shooting, the more you sound like you've smoked many, many boxes of cigarettes throughout the day. It's quite counterintuitive. People go, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I've just smashed a PB." But yeah, I think if I was as quick as Dan Bigham, I might enjoy a pursuit.
So moving on to C5 category, there are 3 riders in this. First up is David Murphy, Liverpool Mercury CC. And he was one of the riders that kept going yesterday with Martin Hailstone, and caught the front 2 just inside the last couple of laps, finished 4th in the scratch race. So 3 riders in this category of C5. David Murphy. Next up will be Will Bjerrefield and Blaine Hunt. But for the moment we are going to concentrate on Mr. Murphy. So nice and steady start by David. And most of these riders will be out the saddle for at least in the first half lap. Sit down. They'll be moving on to the aero bars, up to speed. And looking good so far is David. So again, 4 kilometres, 4,000 metres for both C4 and C5 competitors.
Yeah, so in the men's C5 category, again, we've got an uneven number. So we'll see David Murphy, as you see now, on the track on his own, putting his time down in this pursuit competition. And then the second heat, as Brian says, will move on to Will Bergveld and Blaine Hunt. It'll be exciting to see that one play out on the boards as well.
It's a lonely place sometimes because he doesn't have any help at the side. He's not got any guiding, so he'll do this one purely on feel. So no coach at the side to say whether he's up. Nobody walking the line or showing him an iPad or shouting in his ear. So this is
many options we've discussed this morning.
Yeah, so this is just an individual performance now, and this is where you really have to know your own body and have that experience of, you know, how deep you can really go.
I think you've got to go to a special place in your mind for pursuit, haven't you? I think anything of this sort of level of endurance on the velodrome on your own. And as you say, I think what is also equally wonderful about the National Championships is we have got such an open field, and we've got different levels of riders with different support teams behind them. You know, you've got right up to the elite podium programme, the academy teams, where, you know, they're training full-time day in, day out. But we've also looked down the list at people that are studying at university, people that, you know, have done wonders in the pandemic as doctors, and then coming out and putting performances on the track here that we can absolutely sit in awe at. And yeah, you'll see different levels of equipment, different levels of coaching support, and people here as a sort of entourage. And you know, I think that makes it quite special. And we do see outstanding performances from underdogs, people that come out and really get a chance to measure themselves against the national best. So that's what I love about National Championships, is it's a different showing, it's a different occasion, and it brings a lot of people a chance to benchmark, put down PBs, and yeah, it's a brilliant 3 days of racing.
I think that has to be said, that, you know, during lockdown over that period, I know that possibly some of the athletes, maybe on the British Cycling Academy, and maybe others on the kind of performance plans, are maybe doing some track racing, but for most of these riders, you know, track time was really limited when they had to close the facilities, and you know, they didn't have access. Okay, they can ride on the roads, do their, you know, hour of training or whatever outside or wherever it was, but or do some of the gym work and things like that. But it was difficult for everybody involved, and nobody had that track time because to some people, ride round a track, you can ride round any track, but talking to the riders that actually do this, every track, it may look the same. This is a Olympic track of 2,000, Olympic standard track of 250 meters. Every track may look the same, but every track rides so differently.
It does, and as you say, obviously a tremendously difficult time for so many people for different reasons during the pandemic, but I think it is easy to forget that a lot of these athletes weren't allowed within restriction to come and train at a velodrome, so people had to get very resourceful, and I think then it becomes such a mind game as to lockdown training on your own. And I know some riders actually just thrive, put so much focus in, but it doesn't mean it wasn't a challenge. And it was interesting to see, actually, anyone that follows Eleanor Barker MBE, she was out in her garden in the cold, all rugged up in winter coats, using 2 wheelie bins to put a makeshift squat rack together at first when she didn't have the gym equipment. And the wheelie bins rolled away, the weight luckily didn't fall over on her. But these riders, they were just like the rest of us. They had to find ways to keep going and to keep focusing on the job they had to do when they came back.
Well done, David Murphy from Liverpool Mercury CC. He'll finish on a time of 5:06.046. So that is the benchmark for this category, with 2 riders still to come.
Yeah, David Murphy putting down a 5:06.046 in Heat 1 of the C5 men's category, and we'll follow with 2 riders on the track as we'll see the gates come out once again for Heat 2 with Will Bergfeld and Blaine Hunt. 2 exciting riders to watch. We saw Will Bergfeld yesterday in the 10k scratch race that we saw here at the championships for the first time, and this will be the first showing at these championships for Blaine Hunt.
Yeah, Will Bergfeld's an interesting rider. He's ridden at a kind of decent enough level, kind of semi-professional level. There he is, smiling away as he always does.
He looks very relaxed, doesn't he, ahead of a pursuit?
He had a nasty accident in 2015 with a vehicle, and I think it was a smashed up leg, bleeding the brain, but he came back. Now he's in one of these paracycling categories. He was the first rider, para rider, to ride the Tour of Britain, and it wasn't just riding to get round. He got himself in a breakaway, which is magnificent to see. And I can remember we have a criterium series of events called the Tour Series in the UK, and he was part of this many years ago. I think it was Barrow and Furness. There was one where he was up the road in the breakaway, and I know it's a team race, but he finished second in the individual race, and it was, he was just hands in the air celebrating it. It was his best result, and he's such a character. And most people, to have a nasty accident, to come back from that, not only is he got a disability from that, he is a true champion, and such a lovely person, and most of these paracycling athletes are, and it's great to see. And I had the opportunity to last year in a sportive to go out and meet some of the kind of Special Olympic riders. They were doing a sportive, and this the one thing I can say about them is they're so motivated, probably more motivated than some of the able-bodied riders. They're so strong-minded people. And Will Bergfeld is definitely one of these riders, and I'm sure Blaine Hunt will put up a good fight in this one as well.
You certainly will, and I think that is such a good point. When a rider like these 2 guys on the track now have come through the adversity they have and fought back, that level of motivation is there not to be defeated, and it does add a special element watching the paracycling, in fact.
So the last heat of the C5 category, and this will be a nice contest, this one. The benchmark time in this category is 5:06, and you see the difference in the build. Nothing between them so far, but Blaine Hunt's he looks the more muscular of the 2, but we've seen this before. It's not about being big and powerful. It's technique and aerodynamics coming in as well, but this should be a tight one, this one.
Yeah, going back to the mention of the aero skin suits, both riders opting for pretty plain suits, which I'm sure they've aero tested themselves and looking for the gains that they can possibly take. But how aero do you think Blaine Hunt's tash is? It's a pretty spectacular tash.
Well, I've seen a few tashes around. I'm sporting one in a beard myself, but I'm not looking for aerodynamics these days. But yeah, we saw that with Bradley Wiggins when he went for the hour record. He decided to shave. But I've talked to Graham O'Brien in the past about he used to race with hairy legs and things like that, and there is. What proof is there that facial hair makes any difference? Maybe Dan Bigham may have an answer to that one, but now we'll concentrate on Will Bjerkfield and Blaine Hunt. It looks as if it is going Bjerkfield's way for the time being, but what has Blaine Hunt got left? And we've seen this yesterday in the pursuit. Some riders going out quicker than others, but I do really think that Will Bjerkfield is maybe smarting a little bit from only getting silver yesterday. But Will Bjerkfield looks as if he is riding well. He's already in the same straight as Blaine Hunt.
Yeah, this is a really good ride, and I do think that makes a difference as well to the mindset. Is when you come into the championships like this, and there's so many different disciplines that each rider is fielding, we see people just manage to smash it completely across a diverse sort of board of the different disciplines. And as you say, I think Will Bjerkfield would have come out today meaning business.
Yeah, I'm just watching his coach, but at the same time, Will Bjerkfield has got Blaine Hunt well in his sight, and he's coming up for the pass. He'll be passing into this banking, but I'm just watching his coach there, 6.6. So it does look as if it was 6.8 the last time. So it does look as if Will Bjerkfield is getting faster in this one and really looking for a really fast time.
Yeah, and this is why, again, you can't look too much at the start to dictate how a pursuit is going to culminate, because scheduling, as we've said, we'll say again, is so important to get it right on the day. But yeah, it's also an interesting mind game when you get a catch and you see other riders then upping their time. And I think when you're in competition, especially after having a year off championships, after lockdowns, there's so many unknown entities, and we've got more people packing out the velodrome as it's sort of headed into the weekend, and it's built a really nice atmosphere in here, and you can just see the fight on from Blaine Hunt now.
Well, after that catch, it went out to 7, then it went to 6.8, and now it's gone back out a little bit to 7.1. So possibly, when he sees Blaine Hunt in front of him, he wants to catch him. He went by him, maybe kind of hurting a little bit now, but he's coming down to that same point, 7.2. So it does look as if Will Bjerkfield is tying up a little bit in this one. He hasn't got much further to go, probably about 3 more laps of the track, but it looks as if when you got that rider in front of you, you've got that carry, you wanted to pass, is sticking to the schedule, 7.1 now, so he's maintaining that. He was a little bit below, but he went down to about 6.6 at one point. I think that was just because he saw Blaine in front of him, he wanted to pass him as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there's obviously an element of wanting to get past as quickly as possible to not affect your time, to not throw yourself off your focus, your ride, but also there is that psychology of seeing someone and not quite reining it in, because it really does affect the head when you can actually see someone. And that's often why when someone gets into a finishing straight and they've got that rider in their sights, or in the case of Blaine Hunt being able to see the rider that's come past, sometimes you find something to pull out of the bag that you didn't think you had in your schedule.
Well, Bjerkfield is into the last half lap now. He's maintained that kind of 7.1, so it looks as if he's going to set a really good time here of 4:35, 5:28. So a superb time by Will Bjerkfield. When you consider what we've seen yesterday. So 4:35, really, really respectable time, and Blaine Hunt finishing with a time of 4:49. So that was a superb ride by Will. I think he kind of got inspired a little bit in the pass, struggled a little bit. He was tying up a little bit towards his end, but got his act together and finished off a superb result there, 4:35.
And I think we hear that anecdotally from riders who specialise in the track, whether it's a timed event like the Pursuit or whether it's something as extreme as the hour record, is you can feel like you're within yourself, your schedule. Okay, this is going fine, and then it's so easy to tip the balance if you go slightly off that schedule and think, oh my goodness, what have I done? But yeah, he really held on there, and yeah, I think he'll be absolutely delighted with that performance.
I think that's a great time, 4:35 for 4 kilometres.
Yeah.
You can see the pass here just coming out in the banking. That cost them a little bit. I think because he could see Blaine in front of him, he just wanted to, catch him, inspired by the crowd. The crowd all want to see a catch as well. Unfortunately for the rider that is being caught. Yeah. But yeah, kind of tied up a little bit, but got his act together and kept smooth enough. And 4:35 is a very, very respectable time.
It really is, and something we've talked about throughout the last 2 days is the head position to keep as aero and reduce those losses as much as possible. And you will see some riders just with a really extreme position, and he was keeping his so neat there. And then on occasion you might see a rider dip up, for various reasons, maybe looking a little bit ahead or just loosening off their position very slightly. But yeah, he kept his head down very, very neatly through that, as well as everything else that came together on the day.
So we're going to move over to the female Para C pursuits. We've just seen confirmation of that result there. Cracking time there for Will Bjerkfield, 4:35. But first up in the C1 category will be Katie Toft from Story Racing. And anybody knows anything about paracycling, they'll know that Sarah Story is an absolutely incredible athlete, and so many world and gold medals in the Olympics. And if there's anybody that's going to inspire Katie, it's Sarah.
Yeah, Dame Sarah Story, now the most decorated British Paralympian, and she went to her first Paralympic Games at 14 as a swimmer, and then after medaling many, many times at a really young age in swimming, then I believe she had an inner ear infection, discovered the sport of cycling, and then the rest was history in this sport. And yeah, her medal tally is quite phenomenal, and what she's done with Story Racing has put so much back into the sport across the disciplines. She's had the road team, the track riders as well, and she's really there for her riders. And Katie Toft will have benefited from that level of experience working alongside Sarah and her husband Barney Story as well.
I think both of them alone, Barney and Sarah, it's not just about paracycling with them, it's all cycling. I know that Sarah helps able-bodied young girls in cycling as well through a development program, and yeah, their life is just cycling. I just feel for the kids if they get into cycling, they've got a lot to surpass.
Yeah, you're like, Mum, Dad, what's your medal tally again? Yeah, but yeah, talking of her kids, I actually had the pleasure of chatting to Sarah the other day, because I'm pregnant myself, heavily pregnant, sat in the commentary box here next to you, Brian. But yeah, we had a chat about just how quickly she came back after giving birth, and she was telling me anecdotes of speaking to Sir Dave Brailsford saying, oh, there's a World Championships a few weeks after my due date, I'm sure I'll be okay to come back. I said, well, you really don't have anything to prove. I think you've won everything there is to win. And then she did, and again, the rest was history. She won, but she came back very, very quickly indeed, and what an inspiration she is.
Yeah, incredible. But Katie Toft now, she has decided not to use the kind of triathlon bars. We were talking about this earlier on when the male athletes of Sam Ruddock decided to use just the kind of normal time trial bike. It's all about comfort and confidence, and Katie wants to be comfortable in on this bike that she feels at home at. But there are three athletes or one athlete in this category. We have but we are classing the 1 to 3, so the next two will be in a C3 category. So Katie Toft's time will be factored to the tune of 91.95% of our time. So Katie Toft still in her effort here. with coming up to 4 laps to go, so 1 kilometre next time she comes past the start.
And for anyone just joining us, breaking down the para categories C1, C3, C5, as we've got in this round, is really to make it more akin with what the riders would experience on the world stage, isn't it, Brian? So it's broken down a little bit more this week at the National Championships, and we just again hope that the inspiring nature of seeing these riders out on the track this week, you know, gets more and more riders into paracycling, and yeah, we're seeing indeed more join the ranks each year.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye. 3.4 this time. They've obviously got their own code, you know, from the coach or what they want to see. So again, it's about maintaining that rhythm. We saw it in the previous round there with Will Bearfield. So you know, the same coach looking after some of these paracycling athletes. 3.5, so 3.4, 3.5. So it's, you know, she's maintaining that pace, and you know, won't be long until she'll hear that bell, and it's a nice feeling when you're out there alone. You hear that bell and you've only got that 1 lap to go, when your lungs are burning, your legs are burning, but you know you're almost there.
I cannot describe the pure burn of a pursuit. It's just horrible, isn't it? And hearing that bell, yeah, I mean, yeah, you got a lap to go, but oh, thank goodness. But yeah, it's just such a tough discipline when it comes to keeping your mind in the game. And going back to all the nuances of whether someone's showing a split time, an iPad, having a shout from the trackside, or walking the line, you know, these riders essentially just have to trust and know what their coach is going to show them. And you can see Katie Toft now, the pain on her face, pushing everything to the line.
Yeah, that was a tough one for everybody. Not an easy discipline to get right. It's about maintaining, you know, not going into the reds, just sitting on that threshold for, well, you know, 4 minutes and 44 seconds. You can see, you know, how she was suffering coming into that last banking into the finishing straight. Big efforts, and you know, it's another good time, 4:44, 6:09 for Katie Toft of Story Racing.
Yeah, 4 to 5 minutes can feel like an exceptionally long amount of time when you are absolutely burning your lungs with every lap of the velodrome. You know, I swear it just feels more and more extended as you go. But yeah, that's why these riders are so spectacular at what they do.
So that was Katie Toft of the C1 category, and the categories have been clubbed together, C1 to 3 for the female para athletes. Next up will be Amelia Cass of Loughborough Student CC in the home straights, Daphne Schrager from DiMaccio in the back straights. They're both C3 category athletes. So Katie Toft's time will be factored to the degree of 91.95% of her time, and 100% for Amelia Cass and Daphne Schrager. Both these athletes going for full aero handlebars. It's just the concentration, the beeps, the focus.
I think those beeps still go through me, Brian. the memories of being in that start gate. And I know I keep harking back to how, you know, how much there's a difficulty and a pressure to get it right, but it really is, because, you know, of course your back wheel is clamped, and it's all about anticipating and knowing how you're going to get out of that gate as smoothly as possible. You don't want to be pushing against a dead weight wheel that's essentially clamped a little split second too early, but equally we do, even at the highest level, see people come out of the gate and take a tumble. We've seen that at World Championships and World Cups before. So timing it to perfection is Yeah, it's really, really key. And I used to just find that part and that element so much pressure, because you hear the first beep and then you're just anticipating that point where, you know, some riders will have gone through a regime of getting out the saddle, pushing back, pushing forward, and just trying to get that momentum exactly right. But yeah, of course, every rider got a different technique for starting, especially in these para pursuit championships.
Yeah, so far so good for Daphne Schrager. She's setting the fastest time, almost 4 seconds in front of Amelia Cass. And you know, how is this going to play out? Because we've seen in previous heats that some riders going off faster than the others, but I have to tell you that Daphne Schrager does look good. She's coming around turn 2 into the back straight, and you know, already she's got Amelia Cass in her sights. So both athletes continue with their effort, and Daphne Schrager, she's not leaving anything out by chance. She is possibly not as smooth as some of the athletes we've seen already, but that doesn't say anything. She is getting the power out, and you know, this is just her style. She's kind of rocking a little bit, but she's eaten into the ground in front of her. Amelia Cass is going to be joined very, very quickly now by Daphne Schrager. So Daphne Schrager looking good in this one.
Yeah, I do find that when you look at a rider in so many different events on the track, and it's sometimes just impossible to just look at a rider's posture and decide what kind of sort of tempo they're putting out, because some riders just have, as you say, a completely different style, but get that power out. And we see it at the likes of, you know, the team sprint or the individual qualifying times, and people just have very different postures on the bike. Yeah, but she is certainly getting that power out.
Yeah, she looks pure power, and she's putting everything into it, and you can see the difference in the speed as well. She's just been pushed a little bit further up the track now, and taking a bit longer than, you know, expected to come round Amelia Cass. But yeah, she's passed her now, continuing her effort, and yeah, she's still riding well, over 10 seconds quicker than our competitor on the track, but it is about time. She'll want to get as fast a time as possible.
Yeah, you can just see the speed she's putting out here. Like, that power is just absolutely smashing through the pedals now. And yeah, looking at different styles of people on the setup that they've got is quite an interesting one. But yeah, you can never really make a prediction on how somebody's gonna fare based on that posture. But absolute raw power coming out now. She made the catch. She passed as quickly as she possibly could, and yeah, absolute focus now.
She's not faltered at all. She's same style right from the start to the finish, and you know, we are coming up to you know, 1 lap to go, and you know, she stayed on track for, you know, what she thinks is you know, her best effort. And you know, again, just that kind of wavering nature. And like you say, Rebecca, it's not all about you know, being smooth. It's just getting your style, getting that power out, and you know, going around this track as quick as possible.
We were saying yesterday, weren't we, about our friend Colin Sturgis and how he used to ride a pursuit, and I think a lot of people could have looked at him and said, well, he looks like he's almost sprinting the last stages of it, and it won in the Worlds.
So 4:05 for Daphne Schrager. Amelia Cass just comes up to finish with a time of 4:19.960. So 4:05.004 for Daphne Schrager. And it wasn't a smooth ride, but it was certainly a powerful ride. So that was the female para-C pursuit for C class 1 to 3. So Katie Toff's time will be factored, but for me and my quick mathematics would say that Daphne Schrager from DiMaccio would be the new champion in that category. Just looking at Morgan Newbury of Story Racing, and she'll be in the last heat against Emma Todd of the Apache Brave racing team. Again, only one heat, 2 athletes, C5 category, over 3 kilometres of the track. Bit of a smile there.
It's interesting again to look at the riders' faces, isn't it? Because some riders just look so relaxed and full of smiles. Others sit head down, absolutely not letting any external factor come in. But actually, again, you can't predict from that, can you?
You talked about moustaches earlier on today in aerodynamics.
Where are you going with this?
What about longer hair at the back? You see Emma Todd?
It's a really good question, actually, and it is something that I've pondered. And I know a lot of riders like to plait their hair and tuck it up when they've got longer hairstyles. But for me, actually, I think even if it was an aero factor or not, I'd find my ponytail a little bit distracting, so I'd like it tucked away. But again, you know, each rider's different.
So this is the last heat of the female para C pursuit. Morgan Newbury, Story Racing in the home straight, starts the effort in the back straight. Emma Todd of Apache Brave Racing. And both athletes underway. And so far Emma Todd is half a second up, so she had the better start, but you know, from what we've seen so far, that means nothing. It is over 12 laps of the track.
Yeah, it's all about measuring, pacing that effort. We can't make predictions too early on in these categories. It's just about seeing how a rider gets up and running into position and winding it up from there. And then, all importantly, whether the pace is held to the end.
Yeah, and I remind everybody that Emma Todd was the only female representative yesterday in the paracycling, the new mixed 10-kilometre scratch race. So she had an effort yesterday and already, you know, looking good in this one today.
Yeah, so Emma Todd was in that 10k scratch yesterday, later on in the day, up against the likes of Will Bergfeldt and Finley Graham, and there's a lot of big competition in there, and she would have put a lot of pain through the legs in that bunch race, and then to come in today and to switch disciplines and get into this formation that she has for the pursuit, and she's got off to a fantastic start. You know, that's no small feat again, and I think the level of fatigue in the legs after a bunch race and then coming into a timed event is tough, but we do see these riders at the championships span the disciplines time and time again, and it's something that really, really impresses me.
Well, look at that already. Morgan Newbury has already clawed back that time of Emma Todd's and is now leading this pursuit, and with that margin of 2.229. So how, you know, the tide turns sometimes in pursuiting. You know, riders start fast early and you know, pay for it a little bit later, and I really do think that Morgan Newbury is, you know, set to her plan, and you know, she's really looking good for this one.
She is, and it can be really hard to keep that plan in mind when so many other factors are going on at this level of competition. But, you know, this level of rider, again, is so well versed in just knowing exactly what they need to do and sticking to it. But yeah, it's not always the easiest.
Just trying to catch the splits of Morgan Newbury, but you know, she's looked good. Started a little bit slower, but she can now see there's only about a quarter of a lap behind Emma Todd now, and you can see it on our screens now. And I think Emma starting to tie up a little bit. She started so strong, but visibly you can see that she is starting to tie up. But Morgan Newbury is looking good, and you know, will she get to catch in time? Because we are coming up to the last couple of laps.
Yeah, really neatly hugging that black datum line, and a very smooth ride.
Yeah, over the last few laps I've seen 8.9, 9.3, 9.2. You know, a little bit erratic, but at the same time, it looks as if Morgan Newbury is going to be a new champion in this discipline. Just coming up here, just has to move out now to try and pass that won't help going the long way around, of course, but she is onto her last lap. As the bell tolls in the back straight for Emma Todd. So Morgan Newbury is going to come up and set a very, very respectable time of 3:48.522. Emma Todd still has to finish her efforts, and she'll finish it on the back straight. She's now on that back straight, just coming up to finish. So we can see with a 4:08, 1:04. So a very respectable time from Morgan Newbury from Story Racing. So this is the C5, 3,000 metres, and only 2 competitors. So a good effort there from Morgan Newbury to take that title.
It really was. It was a really good ride, and you could just see a little bit of a dip of her head, couldn't you, as she went for that pass and had to go the long way around with that level of fatigue, having just come up to the bell lap, but all the way to the line and putting down the time she did.
So that will conclude the paracycling. We saw the men earlier. The female have just gone. So we will see the medal ceremonies later on today, as we start to look at the next event.
Yeah, there were some good celebrations last night on the podium, weren't there? It looked like people were going to go off and have a little celebrate after some spectacular performances, but not too much if they were coming back today.
And there's the times of the para pursuits classes C to 1 to 5. Morgan Newbury 3:48, Schrager 4:05, Emma Todd 4:08, Amelia Cass 4:19, and Katie Toft 4:44. I think we're going to go sprinting.
Oh, I get very excited when we go sprinting.
Well, I really enjoyed the sprints yesterday. I think Wales have got a wee star, as they say in Scotland, a nice wee star. And Ria Edmonds, you know, she had to be taken to the decider, but you know, the Newport girl, did well for, you know, home championships.
Yeah, Rhian Edmonds, 15 minutes away from the velodrome, I think she said she lives. And again, it was absolutely lovely to see her post-race interview, wasn't it? Because I think she obviously smashed the performances out all day, but was quite overwhelmed to kind of do the press afterwards and to be on the podium. And yeah, looked quite overwhelmed in some ways. But, you know, I think she came in knowing that she could do that, and she executed it. But the eagle-eyed among you might notice behind the mask there that is a very familiar face holding up his rider, and that is Jason Kenny, who has moved into a coaching role. I
was just about to say we're getting an Olympic champion on the track. None of the riders, of course, but we've got an Olympic champion on the track. Yes. So at the back there, from Paisley, Jack Carling from Team Inspired. James Bunting is the rider in front, and Jack Carling was the best in the qualifier, but you can be fast at qualifying, but this art over 3 laps of the track can be very, very tactical, and poor James Bunting knows that he's up against a faster competitor, so he has to use his nous to outwit Jack Carling. Jack Carling, or both of them, were in the team sprint that won the gold last night, but this is going to be an interesting one. They know each other so well, and I just love track sprinting at this level. Love it.
I really, really do. It's the ultimate game of cat and mouse, and look at how Bunting winds that up. Sorry, not Bunting, Carlin.
I tell you what, Jack Carlin likes to play a little bit there, and he was playing with fire. He dived down the inside there and held back a little bit. There's no way back for James Bunting here. We were saying that Jack Carlin is so strong, so aero, but I tell you what, see, over the last few years that I've watched Jack Carlin sprinting, he's not afraid of anything whatsoever. No. He was playing around, waiting for the moment, pounced down in the left-hand side, possibly hesitated a little bit as James Bunting was coming down, but the door was open. He went through it, put the power down, and from that stage there was only going to be one winner. Fist pump there, bit of respect between both athletes, but yeah, that's Jack Carling. This is the quarter-final draw. There's only 8 riders, so he goes 1-0 up.
Yeah, so I've just been having a little look down the qualification times. Of course, that seeds the match sprints, and we had that earlier in the day before we came on air, so it was 200-metre flying time trial. And yeah, James Bunting put down a time to come 9th fastest in qualification of 10.386, whereas Jack Carlin topped that table with 9.867. He's got the British record for that time at
What's this here? Sorry, Rebecca.
9.306.
He comes down, he uses the height, comes down, look around from Bunting. Do I close the door? I can't really come down into that sprinter's line because, of course, Jack Carlin is already there. Bunting tries to use the height of the track. He's been pushed up at the moment, but you know, Jack Carlin was already in control of that. Look how low he gets at the front and sprinting, absolutely incredible.
Beautiful sprint style, and yeah, he just timed that dive to perfection, committed, executed it as well as we know he can, and yeah, that was amazing. But for Bunting, you don't want to come up against him in that round, really. But he tried everything.
Next up, you've got the black line, Harry Ledingham Horn, and you can see right from the start. Did you see what he tried to do there? He tried to go for a quick one, but Joe Truman was onto this. It's getting a little bit twitchy out there, and Joe Truman doesn't want to mess around. He wants to take this one on from the front, and I think that's what Harry Ledingham Horn wanted to do from black line. He wanted to force something. He looks a bit feisty out there, and you know, wants to go for height, but this is a really interesting one. But Truman not having any of it. He wants to go for sheer power. Hugs in the black line, inside the sprinter's line. What has Harry Ledingham Horn got left? Coming up the finishing straight? No, it's not going to be enough. And Joe Truman from Team Aspire takes that. I think for Harry Ledingham Horn up against the faster man, he tried to, you know, mix up the tactics there a little bit, and you know, it wasn't to be. And Joe Truman goes through, or doesn't go through. He goes 1-0 up in this seat. You just see it here. It's once Joman is putting the power down. You don't have to say that Harry Ledingham Horn, he did go into the slipstream. He did catapult out, but it's a sheer power down the finishing straight for Joe Truman that took that one.
Yeah, and I think the reason we kind of throw back as well to these qualifying times is because it can be very, very daunting to come into a match sprint knowing someone's faster on paper. But yeah, we do see tactical approaches that win it for riders that come in as the underdog, people that aren't the favourite, the fastest on paper, but they make a big pounce, or they go early, or they force the rider into a position they don't want to be in. And that's why we have you know, best of 3.
So, quick sprinting, quick starting. We have Hamish Turnbull, and he's the rider in the green for Team Inspired, and we have Lucius Arthur from the Glasgow Track Racing Club. Glasgow Track Racing Club A-team took the bronze medal. Saw them after. They're very pleased with that last night.
Yeah, I think there would have been a few drinks if they weren't back on it today.
Yeah, of course there was. I mentioned one of the famous Glasgow drinks, and they said, yeah, we've got that, but maybe not tonight.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll wait.
So Hamish Turnbull in the green, Lucius Arthur in the white and the blue, and Lucius Arthur, Hamish Turnbull asked them a question. Lucius Arthur said, well, I'll take the front, I don't mind taking the front, and that's the way it's going to be. So Lucius Arthur was quite content and taken to the front. A bit of height there from Turnbull. Arthur stays down, looking around. Hamish Turnbull waiting to pounce. He goes to height. Hamish Turnbull doesn't even go up the track at all. He wants to do a drag race, sheer power, and he's coming up. This is going to be a close one coming round the top. Quite easily there is Turnbull. Maybe a little bit of mistake from Lewis Arthur there. Maybe, you know, it's a very difficult one. It's hard to say sometimes because, you know, there's more experience for some of these riders, but I just think that when you're forced to the front, it's very difficult to look behind. In the end, there was more power there for Hamish Turnbull, but you know, not using the track, not moving up. When Turnbull did, he came with a little bit more speed, and he made it easier for himself. Of course, when you're being coached by Jason Kenny and you're learning from these, you learn this, and that's maybe something that Lucius Arthur can go away, look at this round, and maybe look at, you know, how he can try and beat Hamish Turnbull in the next leg?
Yeah, I think they do. I think sprinters always, at every level, go away and look back and review video footage and analyse what they can do. But yeah, but when you've got match 1, match 2, and then a potential decider, you want match 2 to go your way, so that you have a final chance. You know, obviously for the stronger opponent, they want to get it in the bag in 2 rounds.
So Hamish Norris, the team inspired in the green at the top of the track, in the red Marcus Hiley for SES Racing, and Hiley in the reds leading off. And you have to lead off, you have to do walking pace and lead off for the first half lap of the track. We haven't seen many, we've seen a couple of attempted stopping on the track stands, as they say, but they can only last for a maximum of 30 seconds, and you can only do that twice. But we don't see that often. We should say that in the olden days, a little bit more of that, but not these days.
I think we used to see it much more, and you'll see a commissaire have a little look at how long they've been doing a track stand for and move into a better vantage point to move them on if they need to. But yeah, you've seen the last 2 riders from Team Inspired just getting that height, not only just wanting to put that power down, but actually just having that vantage point of keeping an eye on what's going on. And you said before in the previous match sprint, looking back isn't so easy, so you want to force your opponent into a position where you've got control.
Yeah, and Norris taking this one, he's going again height, and Hilly just staying below, and you can see the difference. He's rushing into that space, you know, coming round into turn 3, round the banking, and you know, this looks as if it's again Team Inspired taking this one. I can only think trackcraft experience is shining through for the Team Inspired guys there, and rightly so. You know, with the coaching staff that these guys have got, and you know, the track time, we talked about this all the time, it's hard for these other individuals. They will learn, of course, but you know, just split-second decisions. And you can see that when you're doing it day in, day out, like these Team Inspired riders are doing it, you know, automatically going up track, getting height, coming down, you know, there's only going to be one winner. You know, he had to come around a long way, like, you know, Turnbull had before that. There's not a lot you can do against it. It's just you have to put it down as a learning process, and you have to learn it quickly, because they'll be soon out for the second leg of these quarterfinals. So I think it's going to be very difficult for these riders to go up against Team Inspired, but you have to go out there believing that you can try and coax them into possibly making a mistake.
You do, and again, we do see it happen, and people do get outsmarted. But yeah, the Team Inspired riders, just the calibre of talent within there, you know, got Olympic cyclists within their team and medalists, and then they're being coached by Jason Kenny himself. But that is why we love a match sprint, because it can go the other way, it can be unpredictable, but the absolute confidence that we've seen, and the manoeuvres, and the ability to move around that track so effortlessly, get the vantage point, respond to what the other rider's doing, you know, that's second to none with a team of that level. And yeah, I wouldn't want to come up against them, but they have been incredibly inspiring, Team Inspired. But they were, you know, reigning champions coming in from 2 years ago into the team sprint yesterday, taking victory on the top of the podium again, and seeing their riders now go out individually in the match sprints and put some of the fastest times down in qualification earlier. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting day of match sprinting to come.
So moving on to the next event, the men's 1,000 metres time trial, the kilo to be precise. And we have got 7 heats. There will be 14 competitors, and it's simply 4 laps of the track, fastest time wins. And you know, this was, I would say, an event that Chris Hoy made famous. He was not happy when they took it out the Olympics, but I think that helped him in the long run, because it opened up other events for him. So yeah, this is we talk about pursuing, this is one. Just watch the last lap when these riders start to tie up with the effort. So we have got Rhys Pilley of Kasserian CC from Jersey in the home straight, Atiba Quildan from Twickenham CC in the back straight, so in the black there. Rhys Pilley from Jersey. So a very explosive start from both athletes, as expected. Get up to speed as quick as possible. Get into that powerful rhythm, and this is all about, you really have to pace this one, because you're looking the last lap, half lap, these riders be tying up all the way to the line.
Yeah, and you know, it's obviously for people following track cycling for the first time, you're coming out the start gate in the same nature as you would in the pursuit, but of course it's a lot shorter and more powerful and fast, so you've got to get out very neatly, very quickly, and down into position as fast as you possibly can.
It's just one of these situations where, you know, from a standing start, you're putting out just over a minute's effort, and you know, we talked about the power required to be able to do this. It does look as if Quildan is up in this one, but it's going to be the time. Is that time going to be good enough to take the overall, you know, gold medal at the end? There's still 12 competitors still to come, so you want to go as fast as possible. 1:04 for Reece Pillay. Just looking, I think Quildan's time did not stop there, or did it? A 1:09.5 coming up, so we'll just you know, wait for confirmation on that one. But if that's the case, Quildan really tied up in that last lap there.
This is another immensely lung-busting event. I used to do a standing start for a 500 metre, and actually it doesn't sound like much, does it, on paper? And it is just the toughest to get the power out that you need out of the gate for that one. And of course these guys trying to quickly wind up absolutely massive gears. But I do love watching a kilo, and I remember that moment where Chris Hoy was presumably told, right, we're removing this event. But yeah, to see what he went on to after that, is that right, next challenge? But he was spectacular to watch in a kilo, wasn't he?
Well, I remember watching it in Beijing, and you know, it was edge of the seat stuff. You had the last three competitors all very capable of winning, and it was Olympic record went, Olympic record went again, and Chris had to break the new Olympic record. Incredible, absolutely incredible. So next up we have got Noah Hobbs from Tecker CC in the home straight, Callum Moyer from Zappi Junior Racing Team in the back straight with the red sleeves. Very colourful outfit, that Tecker CC.
I was just going to say, I'm really glad we're getting to finally see the Tecker CC skin suit with its little dinosaurs on it somewhere on the leg. I absolutely love the philosophy, the ethos of this team, and Jenny Hull raced in a plain skin suit yesterday, so we didn't see those colours, but now we're getting a glimpse.
As they push off, and Noah Hobbs, Callum Moyer. This is a power effort. It's not a sprint effort, it's not a pursuit effort, it's that bit between, that uncomfortable bit between, but you know, both of them starting very quickly.
Yeah, it fascinates me actually, because you know, it's easier said than done to measure a kilo effort, because yeah, it's a sprint event, but on the endurance side of that, and again measuring it.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, because you know, British cycling tend to be looking at you know, Olympic disciplines. This is not an Olympic discipline. It's still a national title, of course, here in the UK, and you know, normally we see, you know, a lot of riders coming here competing for this. We have got 14 in this championship today, and it looks as if Noah Hobbs is the fastest so far from Teckers.
Looks like he's got a great position there as well, very low head.
So as Noah Hobbs comes up, and he'll set a time of 1:03.912, good enough for first place. Callum Moyer, 1:05.249, goes into fourth place. So benchmark set already by Noah Hobbs from Teckers.
Yeah, Tecker CC, a team I know well. Alec Briggs, a rider that I sort of raced with over the years locally, and he's put, again, so much into developing this team, and on the men and women's side, and getting more talent into racing from a quite wide pool of talent. So yeah, he's been great at that. But yeah, you could just see him looking over to see confirmation of the time he's done that. I mean, that hurts.
I think what we will see as we start to go on, possibly the build of the rider changing a little bit. Yeah. This is a very explosive, muscular. Normally it's you know, not just about legs, you know, the whole body and things like that. So as we go through this, we might see some more kind of muscular builds in this championship today.
Just checking the bike in that start gate again. Just want to make sure everything's absolutely right.
This
that
is
rider's start.
Harry Birchall. He's in the back straight for Team Inspired. Harvey McNaughton for Team Wales in the red. One of these things, Rebecca, isn't it? You've got sprinting where you've got 3 laps, you've got a little bit of time to settle in, but very explosive in the end. You know, it's all split-second decisions. But this, you don't have any ride in. You have to be explosive from the start, a bit like, you know, they do for the team sprints. But you can always kind of make up maybe in 2 and 3. But this is an individual one, and it's just that getting everything out, no regrets.
It is, and you're always going to think, aren't you, oh, could I have got more out on the day? But going back to what you were saying about different build of riders, I think the kilo, especially at the Nationals, is an interesting one to observe, because you do get different riders from endurance and sprint fielding it. If you look at the likes of Ed Clancy, he actually put down an amazing kilo. You know, when he rode the Pursuit, he perhaps went on a slightly different schedule of turns to other people because he was that hybrid of power, wasn't he?
He certainly was, and both riders underway. First is Harvey McNaughton, the Welshman, the quickest so far, but that can all change. But it isn't for the time being. He's still the quickest to Harry Birchall. And it's actually gone out 0.5, but that's compared to the fastest times that have already gone through from Noah Hobbs from Techers previously. So the places will come up, not against the other rider on the track, but against the fastest time. So it's looking good for Harvey McNaughton, and he's in his last lap. Still got some speed down that back straight, and you'll see he's starting to tie up ever so slightly coming into turn 3. You can see he's starting to rock and roll a little bit. Hits the line, 101, good enough for first place for the Welshman, Harvey McNaughton. And Harry Birchall will go into 4th. So a thumbs up, big thumbs up from Mr. McNaughton from Team Wales. You can just see coming into turn 4, bit of movement as expected. When you're absolutely on your hands and knees at this moment in time, when you come out turn 4 and you've just got this finishing straight, and a lot of these riders will start to kind of waver a little bit, and it's how you deal with this pain that really matters in the end for this this kilo.
It really isn't, and then actually looking at the faces of the riders, I think this is one of the events, isn't it, where it's very hard for any rider to hide the pure pain that they're in. You just see the gaping mouth trying to get as much air in as possible. The power that they're putting out is, yeah, I mean, you see a lot of events which clearly hurt, and people keep a really rock steady posture, but yeah, this hurts and it shows.
I've done sprinting, I've done pursuit, and I've done bunch racing on the track. See, when it comes to the kilo, absolutely straight blank, no, not interested. And rightly so, when you see some of these riders come down this finishing straight. No, I've never ever in my career done a kilo, and I don't want to. So next on the track we have Ryan Latewood from SES Racing. He'll be in the home straight. In the black you can see Matthew Burke from LVC Racing. This is heat 4. Time to beat 101.919. Some encouragement for these athletes as they go off the start line. That big, huge effort they have to make to get up to speed, because the quicker you get up to speed, the better. Almost a lap now, you can see. So out the saddle, not in the triathlon position for a full lap. And so far, second fastest for Ryan Latewards, so not as quick as the Welshman, Harvey McNaughton. Still in second place. So still in second place for Ryan Latewards, fourth for Matthew Burke. So what's left in the legs of Ryan Latewards? And he goes into turn 3 and 4, starting to tie up like everybody does coming down the finish. He stops the clock and he actually ties up that much that he goes into fourth place, and it was actually Matthew Burke at the better measured ride there, Rebecca, in a 103, and he goes into the silver medal position.
He certainly does. Going back to what you were saying about whether you'd want to do a kilo or not, it is just such a specific event, isn't it? You know, you get riders building it that have come from other disciplines, but yeah, the work that goes in to get this absolutely right is second to none. But I love watching it. Love watching the kilo.
It's one of these things, Rebecca, that that there was a really good measured ride. You see the difference there, right? I thought that Ryan Latewards, he went out fast, but you could see him, he was really tying up in that last lap. Sometimes we see people almost capitulate and start to kind of weave, but that, I have to say that Matthew Burke for LVC Racing, he measured that to perfection. Okay, he only went into the silver medal position, but you know, I think he'll be happy with that. But Harvey McNaughton still in that gold medal position for the time being. We do have 6 athletes still to come. I need to remind everybody that although this isn't an Olympic event, we have it here at the British Championships this weekend in Newport, but it is a Commonwealth Games event, so a lot of these riders will be wanting to see where they are at with compared to, you know, other athletes from the Commonwealth British nations.
Yeah, and that is important within these championships, isn't it? Not only that we get the pleasure of watching all these disciplines that perhaps aren't always readily available on TV because they're not in the Olympic Games, but riders looking to qualify for other things like the Commonwealths.
So Tom Ward from Aerolab Ward Wheels in the home straight, Stephen Lloyd, Wales Racing Academy in the back straight in the red. Both of them safely off with Tom Ward in his pink Aero socks. And
that must add watts.
And this is one for the Welsh riders. So the Welsh riders wanting to show well, as we just already mentioned, with regards to the Commonwealth Games. So already they have got first spot with Harvey McNaughton, who set a time of 1:01.912. Stephen Lloyd already up in that. So the Welsh looking good, as it looked good in the women's sprint yesterday. So a well-measured effort here. Just going to watch him come around the banking into the final straight. He's still looking strong here. This could be the fastest time. And he goes into second. Well, he's still got half a lap. He just stopped a little bit short there. He finishes with a time of 1:02.580, Stephen Lloyd, which is 0.6 away from the leading time. But you know, Welsh riding well. That's them got first gold and silver for the moment, with still 4 competitors still to come.
Yeah, you can see a punch of the air there, happy with that result, and yeah, that's what I love to see, is a bit of emotion from riders. And there's so much time spent, I think, keeping a poker face and trying to keep rock steady and not showing the pain too much. But I love when a competitor finishes and just looks so chuffed with their ride.
But that's what it's all about. I don't know if it's a PB. I only assume that's a PB because it's not a sort of thing that you would ride over the last. We all love a little of Matt Rotherham.
We love Matt Rotherham.
Yeah. You know, we've got the gorilla in cycling with that Andre Greipel, but this is the ultimate gorilla of track cycling, the showman.
Look at Matt Rotherham, his pre-race ritual, walking up to the bike like he means business. And I suspect he might be on quite good form at the moment, Brian.
Yeah, you think so? Well, of course, we've seen him with Neil Faki on the paracycling as the pilot for the Tandem, but you know, he is a renowned sprinter. You know, we've seen him in other events. We're talking about, you don't go out there and set a kilo time, so you see some of these athletes happy with the result. It possibly could be a PB for some of them, and I believe for Tom Ward it was a PB for him. We don't have that information, but yeah, some of these riders coming here, as we said yesterday, and we will reiterate it, it's about, you know, participating in the national championships, and if you can do a PB, do your best. That's all we ask. So Matt Rotherham from Sport City Velo in the home straight. Tom Sharples from Team PB Performance in the back straight. Quite a significant difference between the body build.
Well, you mentioned build of riders. I think Matt Rotherham, as we've gone down the list, is the epitome of an example of that. Look at the build on him. I mean, the amount of strength training he does is very, very evident. I love that little fist bump there. Oh, goodness.
Up. False start there. Just fell out the gate. That's not what you want. Just before you go, the beep starts with 10 seconds to go. Stopped at 7. And that'll have to be looked at. What's Matt Rotherham going to do? He was all fired up for that start.
I'm just looking down at my vantage point from the commentary box at Matt Rotherham to see what he's going to do, because he did a big old pump up in the chair as he walked to the bike, and just seeing how he approaches this slightly delayed start. But Matt Rotherham's somebody that you know, not only is a phenomenal force to be reckoned with on the bike in the sprint, but he's such an entertainer, isn't he? Yeah. And I watched him a lot at the likes of the 6 Day, and he really does get the crowd absolutely roaring, and he just loves the entertainment value of it. It looks like he's having such a good time, as well as putting out the times.
He's a showman. We're going to see it again. There you go, stand up. I'm not going to say anything, just watch. Actions speak louder than words. Do you fancy doing that when you get out of bed in the morning?
I want to be more Matt Rotherham. I want to spring out of bed, say, right, let's have your day. Yeah, I mean, you can see on his face, this isn't ideal for him, but yeah, he's experienced these things many times before, and he'll just get himself psyched back up.
So for the second time today, we've had a slight problem with the back straight start gate. By the looks of things, Tom Sharples is going more the aerodynamic route rather than power route. Let's hope the problem has sorted. We don't often see that where they slip out of the gate.
No.
Still watching Matt to see if he's going to pump those thighs again. He's nice and relaxed. Looks good in the back straight. Green flag ready to go on the back straight for Tom Sharples.
Yeah, there was another big fist bump there.
But the thing is, you can go out too strong, as we've already seen before. This is 4 laps. Clearly has the power, but it's maintaining that for the whole 4 laps of this event. Starting to feel a bit more tense now, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Here he goes, Matt Rotherham. That huge gear. Maybe not as big a gear for Tom Sharples, but he is really dialing down that back straight. And you can see him, I'm just watching him, he's sat down going into turn 3, not even in the tri-bars. Coming across the line for the first lap, 18.460 from a standing start. So now both of them, these are quick. You can visibly, we are looking out the from a commentary position, both of these are super quick. And Matt Rotherham, we know he would be fastest, but he's halfway there, 31 seconds, but it's hanging on to that. And that's one thing, when you are such a powerful figure, he's 1 second under. How much is he going to hold on to that? He will really pay for this going into the final lap. Still 1.1, so still looking good for Rotherham. But coming up half a lap to go, still with over 1 second advantage, but tying up a little bit now. Coming up to the line, bang, 101.008. That beats the fastest time so far by 9/10 of a second. Matt will be happy with this. We've only got 2 competitors still to come, Jonathan Whale and Ross Burrow, but that was a really good, solid performance by Matt Rotherham.
It certainly was. And actually, we talk about the different approaches, the different builds of riders, people coming maybe from each side, one from sprint, one from a bit more endurance. But Matt Rotherham, an out-and-out sprinter, and you could see that he didn't, as you pointed out, go down onto the tri-bars as early as somebody else, because he's got a huge gear, which I will ask him after and check, to wind up. I mean, look, you can just see visibly how big that gear is. He's got to wind that up before he hits the speed he wants, before he goes into the TT position. You don't want to go down too early, but then it's a case of him just going so out and out powerfully and then trying to just limit the loss to the end, really, isn't it? He's not measuring that in the same way as someone more endurance based. He's absolutely sprinting out of the blocks and then desperately trying to hold it, which he did. What a time. He'll be happy with that.
Just a little bit of housekeeping. John Sharples, I know we're looking at Matt Rotherham, but Tom Sharples, he finished with a time of 1:03.902, good enough for 6th place, and 2.894 seconds behind. Just give you an indication of speed over that kilometre. Matt Rotherham, his average speed was 59.008.
Straps going over the shoes again, as well as clipping in, because when you're pulling and pushing on those pedals out the start gate, you don't want your foot coming out. You'll probably have a little look at being secure in that start gate.
Well, the 2 next riders are Jonathan Whale in the home straight from Cheney Windows and Doors Cycling, Ross Burrow in the green from Team Inspired. I'm just watching as we see another slight delay here. I'm just watching Matt Rotherham. He was still on his bike. He got some help. His helmet is off. He's holding on to the barriers. He's just off his bike. He kind of sat there for a few moments there on his bike. That's how much of an effort he's put in. Been given his road bike, and he is going to warm down. When that lactic acid builds up in your legs, the last thing you want to do is sit down.
And that's the other thing, when you can see a rider of Matt Rotherham's calibre after an event like that. We talk about leaving it all out there on the boards, on the track here in Wales, and he's certainly done that. And you kind of know that you haven't left it all out there if you're not in bits like he is now. He's hobbling off his bike, understandably, after putting out a time in the kilo like he just did.
I know we're talking about Olympic, European, world champions and things like that, and you know, we're here with a plethora of stars, but after that ride you do actually see stars, you know, such as the effort. Just to put it into perspective, you know, it's one of the hardest, I know we keep on saying about pursuit and maybe other events, but kilometre effort is one of these efforts that straight after it you are seeing stars. Yeah,
as you say, you literally are. You can't engage any other senses after something like a kilo effort. Yeah, your vision's going, you're dizzy, you don't know which way is up or down, and that's why people get helped off their bikes. It's something, again, Sir Chris Hoyst to talk about, didn't he, in terms of even just training, that he had a crash mat next to him sometimes because you just fall off the rollers or the turbo, because that is the effort it takes to win at something like the kilo.
And a sick bucket. I won't go into that. But
we'll park that one till later.
Heat 7 and the home straight. We have Jonathan Whale, Cheney Windows and Doors Cycling, Ross Burrow in the back straight in the green, Team Inspired.
I'm excited to see how Johnny Whale goes in the kilo today. He's a spectacular kilo talent that we've seen with many events before, and again, there's been a year of the Nationals. Where is he at? Let's see.
And off they go. This time, it's a huge gear from Jonathan. I think that looks as if that was bigger than the one of Rotherham, but both of them up and going so far. You can see still a bit to do, but we know this event Rotherham expected to go faster in the first couple of laps. Both of them still, Whale and Birrell, got a bit to do here. 4th and 7th, as we can see, well over 1 second. Very difficult to pull that one back though. 1.5 for Birrell. He seems to be getting a little bit closer now. Look at them, both of them are almost 2 seconds down. I think this is going Rotherham's way. I'd love to see the reaction. I'm trying to kind of look at them, kind of warming down. Let's see what these two riders can produce. Whale is coming back now. 2nd place for Jonathan Whale, 101.305.297. And Ross Birrell goes into 5th place there. So our new champion in the kilo is the Hulk, Matthew Rotherham, for Sports City. And I'm just watching him in the centre of the track. I don't think that information has got to him. He's still rolling around in circles, warming down, but there's a good effort here. 0.297 of a second here by Jonathan Whale. He'll take the silver medal, but it just goes to show you the performance of Matt Rotherham here. He was in form, he'll be happy with that, and I'm looking forward to his interview afterwards. So there it is, the men's 1000 TT results. Rotherham golds, Jonathan Whale silver, and Harvey McNaughton, the Welsh rider, with a 101.919. I think we're going to go sprinting again. We've had a kilometre sprint, now we've got 3 laps. The sprinters are up, the boys are inspired, and they're in green. We have, I'm going to say this all the time, I see Jack Carlin, but he's from Paisley.
Is he from Paisley?
Yes.
Why is that relevant, Brian? Someone else from Paisley?
Yeah, it's a sacred place in Scotland.
It is sacred, but seriously, a lot of talents come out of Paisley, and yeah, you should be proud.
Yeah, he's the 2nd best thing that's come out of Paisley. Paisley Pathum being the 1st. So Jack Carling, he's already 1-0 up. James Bunting, also from Team Inspired. He's got a little bit to do. The faster man is Jack Carlin, so what can James Bunting do? Jack Carlin has to lead off. And I think James Bunting has to think a way of unlocking the speed of Jack Carlin. Very difficult to do.
Very difficult to do. As a reminder of anyone of Jack Carlin's prowess on the track as a sprinter, he is pretty fresh from success in Tokyo with a bronze and a silver medal coming away. Sterling performances from him. James Bunting has been gaining more and more and more experience with the likes of 6-day and Champions League, but he's very humble in saying that he's learning as a rider all the time. And yeah, I mean, it's very, very strong entity, but admitting himself that he just keeps wanting to refine his sprinting.
Jack he is a character. He's very, very confident. I think you have to be as a track sprinter. But then again, Chris Hoy was obviously confident, but he just got on. He's just sheer power. But Jack is different kettle of fish. Doesn't mind mixing it up. Doesn't mind taking chances. Chris didn't. He was a straight out power man, but Jack Carlin doesn't mind dicing it with the the big boys and getting in amongst it. He starts to wind it up a little bit. And what's James Bunting going to do? He knows he has to get. He cannot let Jack Carlin lead us. He's going for height now. He dives down. He wants to try and surprise Jack Carlin out the saddle. Stays up Bunting, but he comes down. Is it going to be enough? I don't think it is. He's not quite in that slipstream. Jack Carlin is revving it up into turn 3, 4, and this is going to be number 2 for Jack Carlin. Quite an easy one in the end, probably as expected. But Jack Carlin 2-0 up in that qualifying quarter-final, and he'll go through to the semis.
Yeah, so that will be the decider then. Only 2 out of 3 needed. It didn't need to go on to a decider. That's how the match sprint works in format, race 1, race 2, and a decider unless the same competitor wins the first 2. In the case of Jack Carlin, that is what happened. But yeah, you could see James Bunting trying to come back there, trying to rush that gap, so to speak, use that slipstream to come around, but it was always going to be a huge task to go the long way around Jack Carlin.
Well, I think at the end he tried to use the height of the track, but by using the height, the gap to Jack Carlin just increases a little bit. So as you go up the track, you lose, you know, the distance. And when he came back down, there was just not that kind of bubble. Not that bubble to go into. So moving on to the second of the quarterfinals, Joe Truman for Team Inspired in the green at the back. Harry Ledingham Horn from Black Line. Joe Truman is 1-0 up, the man in the green. This is another one for Team Inspired. It does look so far, from what I've seen, is they could have 4 riders in the semi-final. So
it certainly looks that way. Joe Truman, quite a few years ago, started off as an endurance rider, showing absolute talent in that discipline, and then I think one of the coaches spotted, actually, we're going to try you out in the sprint discipline, and he sort of seamlessly transferred over to that. So it's brilliant to see him at this level of sprinting now.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by that. You know, you look at sprinters in the past, like say Chris Hoyes and, you know, the big lads, and then you've got Jason Kenny, and even Victoria Pendleton wasn't, you know, was fairly slight. But yeah, it's, I think, a lot to do here for Harry Ledingham Horn. I think he's doing the right thing. He has to think of maybe trying to do this tactically, but yet again, you know, for the second time, Joe Truman, I'm not getting involved with tactics. I'm just going to show you how much speed I've got. And yeah, I think Harry Ledingham Horn's got a lot to do here. He's going to push into that slipstream, but he's going to need all the power he can get to come round, and he's not even going to get level here. That played into the hands of Joe Truman. Another easy win for Joe Truman. That's 2-0 up. Not a lot Harry Ledingham Horn can do there when you're up against a faster man, but it was, for me, what it seemed there is Joe Truman, he doesn't want to play around. He just wants to use his power, and if he has to take on from front, he'll do it.
Yeah, talking of playing around, you know, we see how much of a game the match sprint is, but I love just watching him just look around, and he's playing, isn't he? He's just looking behind. I've got this, I'm in control, and it is that confidence that can really, really put your opponent on the back foot.
See, when you commit like that, you commit, and from the form that we've seen already in these championships, that was an easy enough one. Take nothing away from Harry Ledingham Horn. You know, it's a learning curve for a lot of these lads, and he will learn from that. So next is Hamish Turnbull, Team Inspired yet again in the green on the outside. Glasgow Track Racing Club, Luthius Arthur, and this was another one from the previous heat that, you know, Luthius Arthur still learning, and he's in this difficult situation now that you can see he's looking left, looking right. You know, you see a lot of the sprinters just looking one way, just looking one. He's looking both ways, maybe right down the bottom of the track and look one way, what he's doing now, but he's looking both ways. That shows that just a little bit of inexperience, but you know, he is up against a faster man. He has to try and do the best he can, and that's you know, expected, but it looks as if he wants to take this on one from the front. Turnbull goes for heights, but yet again Arthur stays low. Turnbull has a bit to do, but I think he's confident he's got the speed to deliver another result here, and he comes round the outside nice and easy, takes the victory. A learning process for Luthius Arthur. I think he'll be back, but just that kind of wee bit of a lack of experience, and you know, another easy 2-0 win.
Yeah, it's tremendously difficult, isn't it, coming in knowing someone has qualified significantly faster, for example, in qualification, and then has outsmarted you and outpowered you, I guess, as well in race 1, and you've got one more chance to try and get through to that decider. So yeah, looking around, coming in knowing that he had a lot of work to do. That's not an easy position to be in, but yeah, the stronger man on the day there was Turnbull.
So the last of the quarterfinals, Hayden Norris of Team Inspired in the green on the inside. In the red, Marcus Hilly from SAS Racing. And it's 1-0 up for the man in green, Hayden Norris. And he will lead off. And this is another one. The faster man is the man in green. Already 1-0 up. So what does Marcus Hilly do? It's a real difficult conundrum, isn't it?
It is. I'm just wondering, is this going to be Team Inspire dominating again, winning one and round 1 and 2 back to back here? Will it go to a decider or not? It'd be really interesting to see if Marcus Hilly can do anything about that.
So down the back straight. And I only think that the only thing that Marcus can do is try and surprise, try and put in a move that may surprise Norris, but again it's very difficult because Norris, these guys are trained to know where they're going and look behind them.
We do sometimes see it, don't we, where somebody at a great level is caught napping and someone goes for a flyer that's really unexpected and they just can't get the gap back. But as you say, not only is this looking at the more powerful, the fastest rider on paper, but he's not missing a beat. He's not tactically making any mistakes so far, so that's going to be the challenge as well.
Yes, he's looking for the inside. I was just thinking that there, and he goes for the inside, but he doesn't have the speed. He does come up the track, which is good. Comes back in, once he's inside the sprinters line, he has to stay there, but there's a big hole to punch into now for Hayden Norris, and he's going to do this. I don't think he's full power now. Easily around the outside, closer than I expected there, but I really do think that Hayden Norris was in control there. Unfortunately for Marcus Hilly, I think he did the right thing, close in the end, but it's another win for Team Inspired with Hayden Norris. So Team Inspired will go through to the semi-finals as a team with all 4 riders: Jack Carlin, Joe Truman, Hamish Turnbull and Hayden Norris.
As you predicted there, Brian, yeah, a unanimous 1-2 win there for Team Inspired, taking them through. But yeah, he really did put up a spectacular fight there, and actually Norris just looking in control. Again, much more of a lunge looking at that replay there from the Team Inspired rider, wasn't it? We were talking yesterday about timing the lunge to perfection, and some riders, when they haven't practiced that too much, try to do a bike throw, maybe put a little bit of their body weight into it, but it doesn't always manifest in the bike efficiently moving forward. But if you can do that well and you can perfect it, it wins races for people.
Looks like we're going to go pursuiting, team pursuiting. This is another art, isn't it? It's trust also, all this technique. When you're millimeters away from the rider in front of you, going at close to 60 kilometers an hour, this is practice makes perfect.
Yeah, even more so, isn't it? Because you look at the scheduling of an individual pursuit, but then you've got the gelling with teammates, maybe the slightly different strength of riders. You're going to be looking at certain riders holding maybe a different power on the front or doing a slightly longer or shorter term. And that's where, as you say, practice makes perfect in terms of the training time that you're putting in to understanding how to get the best out of each rider in a team pursuit, because it is exceptionally hard to pull all those elements together on the day. And we mentioned the spectacular rider that is Ed Clancy and everything he's won over the years, and he would start off with longer turns because he is someone that can smash out an incredible kilo, whereas if you're looking at other riders with different levels of power, different strengths, you're going to want to utilise them in a different way. So you might have a mix of slightly more endurance-based riders with someone putting out a little bit more power, and then you want to tailor those turns. But we see mistakes happen again at the highest level, which you never want to happen on the day. When you're losing a rider, that's a common place that if the communication breaks down, if that isn't there, with sim riders come down too late, miss a gap and not realise they're actually down to 2 riders. And again, we've even seen this happen at the likes of the Olympic Games, so happens at every level of the sport. Here at the National Championships, it'll be exciting to see how this plays out. Just looking at the team Brother here, and yeah, I mentioned earlier they've just, Brother as a sponsor has put so much into women's cycling, and yeah, great qualifying time from this team earlier. Be really exciting to see what they can do. Holly Ramsey is a rider in here. There's one to watch. I think in terms of what she's been doing behind the scenes and then coming out to these championships and really unleashing it, she's been putting in massive PBs, I hear, in training, and just getting better and better and better.
So in the home straight, we have Brother UK Orientation Marketing. They set a time of 4:41.470 in qualifying. In the back straight, we have Liv CC Halo Films, and they set a qualifying time of 4:53.690. So they have to find over 12 seconds in this one, Rebecca.
Yeah, a big task. It's something that you need to look at in terms of qualification and finals as to whether riders are measuring efforts or not, and I think that's something that's changed over the years, again at every level of competition, where you've got to pretty much leave it all out there to make sure that you're seeded well for qualifying. I think perhaps there was a time where you could hold something back and just think, right, well, I'll just float into the final, but you know, riders just end up having to back up performance after performance after performance and make sure it doesn't get ragged, and that they can put the time in that they've done in training. And yeah, you can see that we're just seeing a gap form for Liv, and they're just getting that neat formation back together.
Yeah, not the best start. You know, already, you know, down in this, and I think we're going to see a catch. I'm saying this early, but you know, 12 seconds is a lot, and you know they did that in qualifying. But saying that, Brother already down to 3 riders, so. Although it wasn't the best start for Liv CC, there's some gaps between the wheels, but Brother UK are already down to 3 riders, and we haven't even reached a kilo yet.
Yeah, it's worth saying for anyone that looked at the start list and expected more heats of this and more riders. Unfortunately, we have had one team out due to illness. Megan Barker's not, unfortunately, with us for this championship. She's at home unwell, so get well soon, Megan. But yeah, we've got a reduced field here, but looking on the track now at Liv CC versus Brother UK.
Yeah, we're just looking at Brother UK down to 3 riders, but I'm also looking at the Liv CC team, and maybe I did do them a bit of an injustice. There's a huge gulf of 12 seconds between them in qualifying, but we said this just before the start. It's about this discipline. It is a team effort, and we talked about the recovery in between, because they've already, a matter of about an hour and a half ago. Time flies when you're enjoying yourself, but they've already put this type of effort in. But Liv CC are looking a little bit ragged. They seem to have got their act together a little bit better, but there's bigger gaps between the wheels than there is with the Brother CC, and now Brother CC, Brother UK have now got them in their sights in the same straight.
Yeah, Brother UK really gaining now. They're looking incredibly quick, incredibly neat. And it would be interesting to chat to them afterwards, actually, and find out exactly what their plan was in terms of losing their 4th rider, because, of course, that is down to choice. And how early you lose that rider could be detrimental, or it could be that you ask that rider to do a particular start, get you up to speed, and then that's their job done. So it'll be interesting to see what their plan was. And again, when it comes down to not only safety, just making sure no wheels get clipped, no gaps, actually let yourself down, is knowing exactly what your plan is and sticking to it. So I'll be interested to know what that plan is. But yeah, it just looked painful to get back on the wheel there, but so far a very, very tight move from Brother UK.
Yeah, I don't think it was planned that early. I think it was maybe a case of sometimes that happens. You get on the bike, you do your warm-up, but all of a sudden you make that starting effort, and the legs just feel like jelly, and there's no place to hide in these team pursuits. So there is going to be the catch as we expected, because there was a big gulf. Unexpected that Brother UK would go down to 4 riders straight away, so just have to be careful here that the front rider doesn't move up and the catch is made. And Brother UK, they just have to overlap the wheel at the back, and that was the case. Safety coming to mind, of course, because we don't want any incidents, and Brother UK are the new national team pursuit champions.
fantastic stuff. And yeah, I always love to know what the plan is versus how it played out. As we just see that catch again, the gun goes. Of course, the race is over when they make that catch for a final. But yeah, sometimes you see a rider come out that entirely isn't the plan to come out, and then that's when, again, even at Olympic game level, you've seen riders look round. Oh my goodness, okay, that's not gone to plan for whatever reason. Because as you say, everyone's human. There's unpredictable things that can happen in a final, and then that rider that perhaps was going to peel off later on in the team pursuit has to then get straight back in that formation on that wheel, or it's game over. You can't finish with two. You've got to ride to the slowest rider on the day. So yeah, an interesting one, but yeah, perhaps not the plan to lose it so early, but in the end they've taken the victory. Brilliant ride.
So there's a confirmed result. Brother UK, a catch in 4:41.690, and Liv CC with a time of 4:53. So Brother UK, well earned rest. Two big efforts today. They delivered the national championship.
Something you said yesterday, Brian, was just seeing the podium celebrations of riders when they get to sharing it with their teammates, and I think that's what is fascinating about the team pursuit, isn't it? Is that when you are on the rivet and you're suffering, it's so different to an individual pursuit because you don't have, you don't want to let your teammates down, and that's another added element. You know that everybody else has put the work in, and you don't want to be the person to let any teammate down on the day.
Well, we're moving on to the men B and women B pursuit final. And this will be heat 1 of the women B. Sophie Unwin and Jenny Hall. Jenny Hall is the pilot at the front of the tandem. So Sophie Unwin on the back, Jenny Hall on the front, and this is the women's B pursuit. So only one entrant. I always think it's really difficult. I've only ridden the tandem a few times on the track, but you have to be at one out the saddle together. That's the practice. We talked about the practice with out the start gate as a kind of able-bodied person or not, but also in a tandem it's completely different.
Yeah, what always strikes me about the tandem is the utter trust, isn't it, that you have to have in your teammate and the rider that's essentially piloting, and the communication as well. I mean, I've been on a track tandem once, so it didn't get much further than once, but I did find it
back or front.
I went on the back, and I found relinquishing control a very interesting dynamic indeed, because you've got somebody, that you've got to work together with to understand how to get the best out of the bike. And of course, some of these pairings are very very recent, and they're just starting to train and race and actually work out the best way to work as a team together.
Well, this is Sophie Unwin, piloted by Jenny Hall at the front. This is the tandem pursuit final. Only one entrant for the women's B category.
And we saw Jenny Hull racing yesterday for Tekka's CC in the individual events, and then she's come in as pilot to Sophie Unwin today. And I'm not sure how much time actually they've trained together, but I know there were definitely some new tandem pilot pairings at these championships.
There is a case as well that you don't want to. I was talking to kind of Craig McLean, and that inspired him a little bit when he was riding with Mr. Faki, Neil Faki. That you don't want to let the person down, and that really inspired him to train harder, probably harder than he's ever trained before.
Well, it would, wouldn't it? It really would, and it goes back to what I was saying about teammates, and even more so in this para-discipline. You cannot let that rider down on the day, and you're riding as one, and the result comes together. And yeah, it's a really special discipline for that, but you don't want to let them down, and I think you're going to dig even deeper in training for that reason. But not only that, probably starting to spend more time together, understand the dynamics of each other, and yeah, some brilliant friendships formed as well.
So 2 laps to go this time for Sophie Unwin and Jenny Hall. Let's go down the back straights, the only competitors in this category. Inside the last lap now. It's been a very measured, controlled effort here by both Sophie and Jenny. Very smooth, aren't they?
I was just thinking exactly that. Really, really smooth. both opted for aero skin suits there, and yeah, that felt like could be a relief as it always is, but yeah, brilliant ride there. 3:28.828 for Sophie Unwin, piloted by Jenny Hull of Tekkas CC.
Yeah, nice round of applause from crowd here and also from the infield. Good effort there from Sophie Unwin and Jenny Hall.
Really was, and it's brilliant to have spectators back in the velodrome, isn't it, after so long of not being able to do that. And yeah, I think it's motivating the riders even more.
The orange beast coming out now.
Spectacular bit of kit right there.
See, I would have to put somewhere to put my feet on at the back if I was on the back, just kidding on. But yeah, tandems nowadays, you know, look at the strength in that, the way it's built. I used to love watch tandem sprinting away back in the day. Oh, crazy.
Well, you were talking about Craig McLean.
Yeah.
The power that he would put through that tandem was quite something, wasn't it? And I remember a time where he wound it up at the top of the track as the tandem pilot, and there was a little bit of a bounce and a scuffle off the barrier, and yeah, I mean, you can almost feel the bike bending under his sheer kind of gym work that he'd put in before that. But yeah, I mean, he certainly did put a lot of power through that tandem.
Well, moving on to the men's B. This is heat 1. We have got 3 tandems. The pilot is Tim Mate for PDQ cycle coaching. Brad's gauntlets for Born to Bike racing team, and he'll be throwing the gauntlet down with the fastest time to see what the others can do. I like a bit of black and white stripes, me.
Some really nice kit designs out there today, aren't there? I was thinking exactly that. I'd go for that myself. I like that. More and more riders opting for various aero lids, and this one's researched very well, hasn't it, that sort of style.
They're coordinated apart from the bike, I have to say. Should be in a black and white bike.
I like it.
So Brad Gauntlet at the back, Tim May at the front as the pilot. So nodded ahead, yep. So hard to start. It's just get it going. Such a high gearing. This will take away a long while to get up to speed, but once they're up to speed, they'll be flying around this track.
It's exactly that, isn't it? It's such a challenge to get started, but once that gear's rolling and you're up to speed and you're in position, the pace really starts to pick up. But I can imagine when these riders are first paired, you know, there must be a tremendous amount of work that goes in behind the scenes to build that trust, to build that communication, and to just get it right out there in competition.
Just noticed here, just after the start, there's something kind of dropped off the bike. I don't know what.
That way, yeah.
They're just winding this up the whole time. And this will be the benchmark. 3 heats. Just looking here. Something dropping off. It's when he moves his hand. Yep. Not too sure
where that
was.
came from, yeah.
Well spotted to our director, Rowan Browning. So Brad Gauntlet with Tim May as the pilot. And once up to speed, they're now in a rhythm. But it's just the, I don't know, the weight is kind of pushing them up. Talking to a few people in the infield yesterday, this track is renowned for kind of pushing you up the banking. You know, others talking about the velodrome in Glasgow, you can lean into it a little bit more, but this kind of pushes you up, and we can see it now that as we go into the banking, when they exit the banking, they're kind of moving up to that red line and maybe above it at parts. So that's another thing to kind of factor in.
It is, yeah. It's something we've seen actually, isn't it, quite a few times, and yeah, that difficulty to hold it right down the black line. And we do see more and more in the pursuit that the riders will even out very slightly their line, coming up and then dropping back down rather than hugging black line exactly. But as you say, I think in certain cases it is that difficulty when you're getting pulled up the transition. And each track indoors, or majority of the tracks indoors in this country, are the 250 standard, and they look to all intents and purposes like the same track, don't they? But the transitions, as we say, are very slightly different, and they can feel quite different to ride actually. And so if you've been training and competing on one and then to move to a different track, can be a little bit more obvious to the riders than we might see from the outside. But yeah, the so Chris Hoy velodrome is an interesting one in terms of where the start finish line is and the transition quite sharply into the banking. So yeah, it does feel very different, especially when you're riding around the top of these tracks.
So Brad Gauntlet and Tim May will have 5 laps to go when they cross the finishing line. This is over 4,000 metres. Into the last kilometre now, 1,000 metres, and it's still grinding out that steady pace.
You can see the sheer effort going in, can't you? Again, looking at the pain faces, such a tough discipline.
We're talking about on the front, you know, that staying in that position is difficult to do, but also the person in the back, very difficult to stay in that position.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a case of working out what your optimum aero position is versus how you can hold it, how well you can sit in that position, because if it's immensely uncomfortable, you're not also going to get the gains that you could get from the aero position. But yeah, a lot of these riders will be weighing that up, and this is the position that they've settled on, and it's yeah, it's a neat one, tough to hold.
So into the final banking for Brad Gauntlet and Tim May, coming up to the line, and Neil sent the benchmark time of 5:17. So Brad has put down the gauntlet. The time to beat, 5:17.128. So it's a very measured effort there. It was difficult to get up to speed as expected with the tandem, but once they got up to speed, it was pretty measured right the whole way around.
Yeah, it really was, and it is worth just reminding people just the effort it takes to get the tandem up to speed. It's not going to be down onto the bars as quickly as you might expect in other disciplines, but yeah, once up to speed, what a consistent effort and a really smooth ride.
So we have a not-so-coloured tandem being prepared on our home straight, and that will be for Chris McDonald of PDQ Cycle Coaching and Chris Latham, BCF member. That's a name we know, Chris Latham.
It is. So Chris Latham is the tandem pilot here, and I believe he's pretty new to tandem piloting, having sort of raced on the track and road for many years himself as an individual athlete. So yeah, very, very successfully representing at world level.
So that's the rider on the front. And how long do they have to take out? You know, is it a year out of competition to qualify?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I believe it's that. I will check my facts on that and come back to you. But yeah, there is a period of time that you need to be out of the sport and then know that you're going to make the move and the transition into being a tandem pilot.
Strong start from Chris McDonald and Chris Latham, and so far so good.
Yeah, looking at it, it'd be really interesting to see what these riders do as a duo, with Chris Latham piloting Chris McDonald here, and it was a very neat start out that gate indeed, wasn't it? Just getting onto the bars early, up to speed.
Well, this is the first test, isn't it? I'm sure that Chris Latham would have thought, you know, lockdown, what am I going to do? There's no racing. He was very successful. May have come to a part of his career like, you know, Craig McLean and others have done, and decided that, you know, they wanted to go into paracycling and pilot, and, you know, use that time. And like you say, this pairing has not been at any major competition. This is the first major competition, and so far so good. You know, very strong in the start, already almost 12 seconds up in the fastest time so far, and I have to say, looking really, really good.
They are, and that's why this Nationals has been particularly exciting for us to watch and for the riders to come back to, because there's so many unknown entities after being in a mass lockdown, after people not having any track time and actually not being in competition, especially at this level. So yeah, this is the first time we've seen this pairing at national championships, and I'm sure there's been a lot of hard work behind the scenes, but you never know how you're going to fare in a race until you pin the number on your back and race. So yeah, it looks like it's going very well indeed so far.
So 18.6 seconds up. Next time round they will have 9 laps to go. I think Chris Latham using his experience. A very, very good pairing here with Chris McDonald. We talk about staying in that datum line, the black line at the top, at the bottom of the banking, and they're doing a very good job of that. Steered perfectly by Chris Latham. The closer you can get to that, although we talked about moving up in the straights and coming down again, trying to make the track more circular than oval. So now just over 27 seconds up on the fastest time. I'm confident that this is going to be the fastest time. Whether the next pairing can get anywhere near it, we'll have to wait and see. But they're looking good, and I have to say they're looking good for, you know, potentially taking the title here.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Brian. They are looking very good indeed, and you can just see the level of experience here, just in terms of how smooth they are, and the way that Lathan's piloting the track. And yeah, both of them just gelling so well. And as I say, I'd be interested to know how much time they've had to gel as a duo and train together. But it's looking like the work's really, really gone in behind the scenes. This is great.
So we're starting to get more and more encouragement. 39.7 seconds up. They're not really skipping a beat now. They're well into this ride. 2 laps to go this time. And this will be the fastest time.
Yeah, you can see this is hurting now, but not letting up, not going off schedule, and you can just see the coach looking happy on the track side. Lathan looking over to him to check they're on schedule, and they come up to the bell lap.
Yeah, just very, very consistent. I was looking at the coach as well. 6.2, 6.3, 6.2. They came down the back straight, and this looks like this is going to be the fastest time by some way, as they come out of turn 4 to the finishing line, and at 4:23.873.
I was very excited to see that new pairing, and it didn't disappoint. That was a spectacular ride from the two Chris's.
Yeah, I just feel for the next pairing. It's that's a really, really fast time for 4 kilometers, 4:23. And it looked really, really good. We have got Heat 3 coming up with Nadim Mungo, Stockton Wheelers CC. He'll be piloted by Alex Cook of Royal Leamington Spa CC. But a great effort there from Chris McDonald in the back there with Chris Latham, a new pairing. And a good pairing at that. As we see the black and white tandem coming out.
You really wanted that to match the kit, didn't you?
Yeah, of course I did. Carol Lee.
Carol Lee, absolute legend, isn't she?
Yeah.
She is one of the hardest working people in cycling, I'd say.
I hope she doesn't watch the recording of this. Yeah, she's been around for a lifetime in cycling. You know, she's done so many major events, and I've always relied on her whenever I've worked in events for, you know, timing and these things. So yeah, Carol puts a lot of effort in. Although she was standing around there, wasn't she? So Nadim Mughal of Stockton Wheelers CC. Alex Cook will be the pilots from Royal Leamington Spa CC. Just taking a moment to get set up.
Yeah, you've just got to take a minute, haven't you, to get into that start gate, make sure everything's right before that that bleep starts.
I was just listening this morning about the Paralympics and the downhill skiing, where you've got partially blind athletes going down, skiing down at 75 miles an hour. And I have to say, for visually impaired people, even to do cycling, it's, you know, it's an amazing. And you know what we are witnessing. When I go back yesterday to the scratch race of paracycling, you know, one of the highlights, and you know, one of my favourite riders already. But you know what they have to go through is incredible, and you know that's why they keep on, you know, doing what they're doing, because they absolutely love it. Brutal as it is, they love it.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, and I don't think we can say that enough, really, can we? And the more we have these athletes on TV, out there, just putting in these performances, when they've come so far to achieve the times they're achieving, it just inspires more and more people to come and do this, and to get into sport and to get into cycling. And it's really, really important, and you can't you can't say that enough.
Well, it's the first team it's not decided, and that's something they obviously talked about, maybe not comfortable about getting out the saddle from the start gates. A lot harder. You could see that Alex Cook was puffing and blowing. A lot harder to go out that start gate sitting down, but that's what they've decided to do. But now they are quickly up to speed, and you know, looking good now, not deciding to go any, you know, aerodynamics on the bars at the front. It's personal preference. It's about being comfortable. Maybe with a little bit more experience, they might decide to look at the starts getting out the saddle, but that all comes with time and confidence. That, you know, just actually, you know, wanting to be a cyclist as a partially impaired person, that, you know, with eyesight, it's incredible. It's, you know, and I know that we had Aileen McGlynn in our club, the Johnson Wheelers, and you know, she would always, you know, ask, she should have her kind of favourite pilots and things like that, but sometimes she was asked if that pilot was Wayne Holiday or something like that, that someone would go out and pilot her. And she wasn't short of volunteers, because, you know, everybody wanted, you know, loved it, and, you know, wanted to try and help her, and she had she still got a successful career.
Yeah, she really does. And going back to the fact that the level of training that goes in behind the scenes isn't just having the fitness and the power on the day, is it? It's gelling together with your pilot, and I can only imagine the trust that is involved in this for a visually impaired rider. And we've seen some spectacular duos over the years, just like go from strength to strength, and more time they have to field races together. And as you say, they're probably looking at, right, where's our point of comfort to get out there and compete on the bike position, and this is what they've chosen as a setup for today. But you might see that adapt as they perhaps train and race together even more. And you know, the pandemic obviously took everybody away from racing, away from being inside a venue and pinning a number on for so long, that now we're back. And I'd imagine some of these new pairings will just have more and more opportunities to race together. So just a reminder that it's Alex Cook as the pilot for Heat 3 here in the men's para pursuit. Just hearing the crowd start roaring in support in here. It's really, really lovely to have a packed out velodrome again. It really, really is. And we, for anyone joining us recently at the start of the broadcast, we mentioned that we are, of course, over in Wales at the Geraint Thomas Velodrome, and it's actually the first time it's not been held at Manchester since 1995. So we've moved over to Wales for this edition of the championships, and it's the first time in a while that many people have come out to watch live sport, or indeed specifically track cycling, and it is such an inspiring 3 days of racing. We had qualification in the afternoon on day one, and then went right into back-to-back heats all day yesterday, and here we are now with another packed schedule.
So inside the last four laps for Nadim Moghal and Alex Cook, and they are currently lying in third position. So with a time of 4:23.873, looking good for Chris McDonald. And with the time of 5:17 fast approaching, with 2 laps to go, looks like Brad Gauntlet will be in second position. But of course it's about being here, trying for a personal best. And Nadim Mughal is going to receive the bell with 1 lap to go. You can see the effort now of both riders. Movement now from Nadim, but it will all be over soon as they come into turn 4 down the finishing straight. They will stop the clock at 5:44.693.
Yeah, a really big push down that final straight, that bell lap, just putting the pressure on, getting the best time out that they possibly can here at this British National Championships in the pursuit. We saw Chris McDonald, piloted by Chris Latham, who we both know very well. They set a pretty hefty benchmark.
Just to confirm the result of the Paramen's B pursuits, Chris McDonald 4:23.873. Second place, Brad Gauntlet 5:17.128, and Nadim Moghal 5:44.693. As you can see, we're just getting ready for the medal ceremonies. We have got 5 ceremonies to bring you now. First up will be the men's kilo, followed by the female paracycling pursuit, the men's paracycling pursuit, the men's B pursuit paracycling, and the women's team pursuit.
We are just about to get set for our medal ceremony, so make sure you're looking over at that podium. We've got a wonderful light show here to get you in the mood.
So first will be the men's kilo. Looks like the mares here. Matt Rotherham, a convincing winner, but Wales, with Commonwealth Games in mind, have got something to shout about.
The medals and jersey will be presented by Mayor Councillor Williams. Winner of the bronze medal, representing Team Wales, Harvey McNaughton.
So the bronze medal going to Harvey McNaughton of Team Wales, with a time of 1:01.918.
Winner of the silver medal, representing Cheney Windows and Doors Cycling, Jonathan Whale.
Silver medal going to Jonathan Whale of Cheney Windows and Doors Cycling, with a time of 1:01.305.
Winner of the gold medal,
with the winner of the men's 1,000 metre time trial going to Matt Rotherham from Sport City. See how pleased he is with that, a 1:01.008. I think he's just checking the size, it's big enough. Matt is a character of our sport, and well deserved. If you were able to watch this event live, he was pumping his thighs before he got on the bike. He really wanted this one, and he deserved champion. Winning by just under 3/10 of a second. Matt Rotherham, the new men's kilo time trial champion. So Matt Rotherham, Jonathan Whale, Harvey McNaughton is your podium. So just bear with us. We have got a few podiums to go through before we'll go to the women's scratch race qualification. A very happy Welshman in Harvey McNaughton. Be happy with that bronze medal, and I think with his time as well, I think from memory when he finished he gave the big thumbs up with the time. And I think we may be able to speak to Matt Rotherham.
Congratulations, Matt, national champion. How much of a goal has this been for you this year?
Yeah, big goal actually. You know, we came off the back of the games in Tokyo, and you know we'd done the 58.0 out there in the Paralympics. So I kind of wanted to see what, with a good amount of training, I could sort of do on my own. So it's been a good project. And, you know, I'm really happy to come out with a win. You know, I was pleased to get a really good start. And, yeah, ultimately happy to win. I would have liked a little bit quicker, but you know what? I came for the win, and that's what I got.
Well
so
done. You certainly left it all out there. Talk us through the tactics, if there were any, for the race.
Yeah, I just really believe in a strong start, and then that helps you ultimately get the best time, and it obviously proved the case today. So, yeah, go out hard, and it clearly worked. So
brilliant. Yeah, congratulations. What's next for you from here?
Build up to the Commonwealth Games now. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. And yeah, so obviously a massive event back in the UK. So be looking to get back to peak performance for the games.
Good man. Good luck. Thanks. And well done again.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah, we need characters like Matt Rotherham in our sport, and you know, this is what I was talking about earlier when he came out. Slap of the thighs, and that got him that gold medal. And it just goes to show you that Neil Fackie gained some 3 seconds on that performance. He did a 58.0 at the Olympic Games, and a 1:01 here as we move on to the Women's C1 Pursuit Awards.
Winner of the bronze medal, representing Story Racing, Katie Toft.
So the bronze medal going to Katie Toft of Story Racing with a factor time of 4:21.698.
Representing Loughborough Student CC, Amelia Kess.
And this was a category of C1 to 3, Katie being C1. So Amelia Cass taking the silver medal from Loughborough Student CC with a time of 4:19.960. And the winner, riding for DiMatteo, Daphne Schrager, with a time of 4:05.004. So over 15 seconds faster than the silver medal. So quite convincingly.
Yeah, she's written such a powerful ride today as she pulls on those national stripes, that coveted jersey and her gold medal. What a powerful performance.
Oh, smiles. Love that. Picture for the family album.
Can't beat it, can you? It's a lovely atmosphere here in the Geraint Thomas Velodrome. And I think anyone watching today can only be inspired by performances like this.
So your podium: Daphne Schrager, Damasco golds. Amelia Cass, Loughborough Student CC on the left in the black with the silver, and Katie Toff with Story Racing on the right hand side. And they wait. We've got a queue for medals, jerseys.
Lots of medals and jerseys to give out today, haven't we? But you said before, it's a really packed schedule, isn't it? You know, it's back to back to back racing.
Looks like we could be hearing from Daphne Schrager very, very soon. Just saw her man on the ground, hustle her away to the interview position. So yeah, we're going to be talking with Daphne Schrager.
Okay, congratulations, well done. Can you talk us through the race today?
Thank you very much. I had a really good start. I was preparing with John Lenton because I've recently got on programme with BC. It's my first C3 race on skis, so I didn't know what to expect, but I tried to ride schedule and then just kind of tried to cane it at the end and just go for it. And then I was actually quite surprised that I managed to do it all the right time.
Well done, well done. And how much of a priority was this national championship for you this year?
It's a big priority because last year my classification changed, so to come back and ride well in my new classification, preparing hopefully for the World Champs later on this year, to get a good solid performance in, that's all that anyone can ask, so very happy.
Great, well done, you're a national champion and congratulations, good luck for the rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
Best interview yet, love her. First time in skis, the excitement.
I know.
But we move straight on to the C5 category, and the silver medal going to Emma Todd from Apache Brave Racing Team with a 4:08.553. But the winner, riding for Story Racing, is Morgan Newbury with a recorded time of 3 minutes and 56 seconds, 7:02. So this is the women's C5 category. The previous category was 1 to 3, and our winner is Morgan Newbury of Story Racing. So only 2 athletes in this competition. So there you have your gold and silver. Morgan Newbury of Story Racing and Emma Todd of Apache Brave Racing.
You can just see how much I'm beaming, can't you, through these podiums and the interviews as well. That was a lovely interview before.
Yeah, Alistair straight in there again. So no doubt we'll be hearing from Morgan Newbury. Just loved that interview before. She was just so exciting. Okay, here is Morgan.
It's great to see.
Personal best for me, and I only got a second personal best on Thursday, so it's really nice to go and get another one twice in 1 week.
Brilliant, well done. And what's next for you from here?
On to some road racing, really looking to get to a World Cup, so excited.
Good luck and well done again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, another PB after PB, and that's all you can do, and add to boot, and you know, the national stripes as well. So I think she should be very happy.
Indeed, you can't argue with a PB at any time, especially, as you say, if it's pulling on the national stripes as well.
So we're going to move on to the C1 to 2 3,000 metre factor championship for paracycling.
National Track Championships. Men's paracycling C1, C2
So the bronze medal going to Sam Ruddock with a factor time of 4:10.879. The silver medal going to Matlock CC's Ryan Taylor, 3:42.206. And the winner, riding from Woolwich CC, will be Matthew Robertson with a factor time of 3:41.418. And he's really chuffed with that one. Really happy, nice to see. Not a lot in this one, 3:41.418, 3:42.206, so he was pushed close, but you can see how much it means to him. Yeah, professional, make sure the zip's up.
Absolutely.
Onto the podium. And your new champion, Matthew Robertson of Woolwich CC, proud owner, a very proud owner of the national stripes.
So good to have these national track championships back after it was postponed for a year, and seeing such worthy competitors come back out after immense amounts of hard work behind the scenes to take these national titles.
Yeah, we're going to be listening to Matthew Robertson as we see some of the youngsters being inspired.
Matt, well done, congratulations. You can see how much that meant to you. So what does it feel like to be a national champion?
Yeah, it's a great feeling. It just shows that all the hard work you do pays off, and it's great to come here and to have all these people here watching, and I can't describe the feeling that it...
Well, congratulations, you deserve it. What's next for you?
Well, we're hopefully now finishing with the truck season and getting on to some road races. There'll be some World Cups, and we've got some important World Championships hopefully later on in the year. So the plan is to kind of take this and build on from these races and these times and things, and go and hopefully win a stripy one.
Good man, well good luck with that.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
I wish that I had that much enthusiasm when I won my British titles. It's, you know, when I won my first one I was a little bit stunned. Didn't really expect it, but to see, you know, the jubilation there of Matthew Robertson was nice to see. So moving on to the category of the C3, 3,000 metres pursuits. With the bronze medal going to Henry Urand from Loughborough Student CC with his fan club here. It's a 3:51.566.
Winner of the silver medal, Ben Hetherington.
The silver medal going to Ben Hetherington, 3:49.157. Not a great deal of difference between silver and bronze.
Winner of the gold medal, the British Cycling National Track Champion.
And after his success yesterday in the mixed scratch race, the winner of the gold medal, Finlay Graham, 3:28.898.
That was a pretty special ride, wasn't it, to watch? And he pulls on his second national jersey of these championship games after kicking things off in style yesterday.
Please congratulate your national championship medalists.
Oh, he's been here before. He's starting to order people around. Come on, enjoy me. So Finlay Graham takes gold, Ben Hetherington takes silver, and Henry Urand takes the bronze. Start them young. See. You'll be doing that soon.
Generation inspired, yeah. In a few weeks' time.
Okay, we're going to listen to Finlay Graham.
Congratulations, that was a popular win. How does it feel to get the national champs jersey on again?
Oh, it feels amazing. So nice again. Yeah, first pursuit since the game, so I didn't really know how it was gonna pan out, but I managed to PB out of the games. So yeah, really happy with how I did.
You obviously performed better in front of a crowd because there were no spectators in Tokyo, were there?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's always nice to have a bit of a crowd and kind of spur you on when your legs are screaming at you. So it's nice to have that encouragement right to the finish.
Brilliant. Good luck, and good luck for the rest of the weekend.
Perfect.
As well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Took me 3 years to get my second one. You just got it in 24 hours.
2 days, back to back. And another good point, though, I know I've mentioned a few times that it's brilliant to have the crowds in, but actually it's easy to forget that they didn't have that in the velodrome, did they, in Tokyo? Seeing the women in the track centre warming up for the scratch qualification heats.
Medal ceremony for the 2022 British Cycling National Track Championships. Men's paracycling C5 pursuit. The medals and the jersey will be presented by Chris Landon.
So moving on to the men's C5. This is over 4,000 metres. And the bronze medal going to David Murphy from Liverpool Mercury CC with a 5:06.046. Lane Hunt will be your silver medalist, 4:49.654. The man with the tash. But your winner, and well deserved, Will Bearfield from St Piran, 4:35.528. Another proud moment for Mr Bearfield. As enthusiastic as ever. And it was quite a dominant display, wasn't it, in the end?
It was, and he has got such a wealth of experience. And it was great to see that out on the track.
Straight in there. He knows what he's doing.
He's straight up
and his
there.
medal done. Come on, I'll help you. That's great. Fantastic. One of the moments of the championship so far, but well done to Will Bearfield, Blaine Hunt and David Murphy. And I'm sure as the fans, spectators are catching up on their social media, we're going to hear from Mr Bearfield as the women prepare for their scratch race heats. So here's Will.
Congratulations, Will.
Thank you.
That was a great race. Talk us through it.
Okay, well, for me today, it was very much about a process. I wanted to go out and just be consistent, not blow up, do a solid ride, and then hopefully take that forward to for Track Worlds this year in Paris.
And what are your major objectives in 2022?
Okay, well, my main objective will be the time trial and the road race in Canada in August this year. After that, I'll be looking towards the Track World Championships in Paris and trying to set down a decent marker there for a pursuit.
Great, well done. And could we see you in the Tour of Britain again this year, do you think?
Never say never. if I'm in really good condition, maybe St Piran will pick me. So, but yeah, it's completely down to those guys.
Well, good luck. Have a great season.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Will knows what he's doing next, doesn't he? He's so precise. He knew what he was doing today. Just comes here clinically, goes out there and becomes national champion.
Yeah, brilliant to see. Very worthy jersey wearer there, and interesting to see we summarised his tactics perfectly when he said, "What was the objective? Just not blow up."
Yeah, clinical.
But yeah, to go out on that schedule and not waver, gosh, yeah, what a ride.
Oh, bear with us. We have got one medal ceremony to go, and that is the women's team pursuit. And then we'll be qualifying for the women's scratch race. Let's hope none of these are involved.
It's just weapons.
So 2 teams in the women's team pursuits. And the silver medals going to Liv CC, Halo Films, Katie Ann Colton, Ella Jameson, Matilda McKibben and Owen Roberts. Owen. And your gold medal winning team, Brother UK Orientation Marketing, Ellen Bennett, Grace Lister, Holly Ramsey and Isabel Sharp. And they will help each other? No, they'll do their own. They may give each other's medals out like they do.
It's lovely seeing a team on the podium sharing in that success together.
Oops.
We've had a slight
do you know what? It's the moment.
Mishap.
Oh, what happened to the zip? Oh, zip malfunction. Where's the zip specialist? Look at them.
Straight in there.
You know what I love about it is when I watch any medal ceremony, see as soon as you put that jersey on, you see them looking down at it.
Oh yeah.
And it's something I always appreciated, probably more the second time I had a national champs jersey on, when you're out training, because you don't really look at your kids. Yeah, a round of applause for actually getting the zip up, but that'll go down in history. There. But it's one of these moments where you have to pinch yourself sometimes. When you're out training, you look down and you've got these stripes on, so it means a lot to everybody that has the chance to wear them.
What does it feel like? Because you know you can have that on your shoulders for training, for racing the whole year.
It's special, but you know some of these females might go on to become world champions or European champions. But I'm not saying anything against the worlds. The British the British Championship jersey means a lot to you. Yeah. It's a proud moment. And that's why we're seeing such enthusiasm about this. So there is your women's team pursuit podium. Brother UK Orientation Marketing, new British champions from Liv CC Halo Films. We have just one medal ceremony to come before we go into the scratch races. And we're going to speak to the Brother UK team. The zip specialist.
Wow, congratulations. Talk us through the race, guys. That was impressive.
I think we sort of went into it knowing we wanted to make the catch. That's how we wanted to do it from the start. We knew that Grace would do a big turn to then deliver me. As soon as we had them in sight, that was sort of it, I think. I think we just sort of had them to chase, and that was it.
Amazing. And so how does it feel to be national champions today?
Pretty good. It's what we all wanted from the outcome, so.
Great. Has this been a big goal for you guys this season?
I think we've got, some of us got a lot bigger goals throughout the end of the season, but for the start of the season, it's definitely a big goal for some of us, so.
Great. Well, go well for the rest of the season. Well done.
Thank you.
Happy team. They look happy, don't they?
Didn't talk about Zipgate, no, but jokes aside, yeah, I think they'll be absolutely delighted with that. What a special moment for the 4 of them as a team.
Talking about special moments for these athletes here in the Para Men's B pursuit.
Winners of the bronze medal representing Stockton Wheelers CC.
And winner of the bronze medal goes to Nadeem Mughal from Stockton Wheelers CC, 5:44.693. He was piloted by Alex Cook.
Winners of the silver
with the silver medal going to Brad Gauntlet. The black and white stripes with a 5:17, 1:28. As they wait patiently for their silver medals. So this is Brad Gauntlet winning the silver medal. But the winners of the gold medal are Chris McDonald, and he was piloted by Chris Latham with a 4:23.873. It's not the first time Chris Latham has pulled on a national jersey, but a proud moment for him, no doubt, piloting Chris McDonald of PDQ Cycle Coaching.
Yeah, an incredibly rewarding moment, I can imagine. Brilliant to see them out here debuting this duo.
You're still with us, thanks for staying with us and enjoying these special moments. So we're just going to have the podium shots, and hopefully we'll get to speak to Chris McDonald, the new national champion. A new pairing with Chris Latham. I'm hoping he'll say that he did most of the work himself.
Yeah, we talk about everything coming together to perfection on the day, and it certainly did for Chris, piloted by Chris today.
So hopefully when he comes off the podium we'll hear from Chris McDonald, and then afterwards we'll have qualification for the women's scratch race. Well, some are warming up, but some aren't.
Yeah, it's an interesting one when you look at warm-ups, isn't it, for different disciplines, and equally how much riders will focus on warming up. Some riders kind of just take a little roll around track centre.
So here's Chris McDonald, our new champion.
Congratulations, guys. Talk us through the race, please.
It was a big effort. We've not been riding together very long, so we've not been training too much together. So it's first championship we've taken part in together, and we're really pleased with the result.
Well, so it's a good start for you two then, so you're going to ride more together in the future?
Yeah, bit of luck.
Great, and what's next?
We'll just push on for the rest of the season, move on to the road now.
Good luck with the season, guys, and well done.
Thank you very much. Cheers, thanks.
More of the same.
Yeah, good luck to them.
More to come.
Good luck. Okay, we are moving on to the... Oh, bang. There we go. It started already. We don't hang around here.
Still makes me jump the start gun.
So we have got the women's scratch qualifying, top 11 riders to qualify for the final. We have got Ella Barnwell, Katie Ann Carlton, Nia Evans, Francesca Hall, Jenny Hall, Kinga Ingram, Sophie Langford, Sophie Lewis, Holly Ramsey, Lowry Richards, Awen Roberts, Charlotte Sheridan and Victoria Smith in this one.
Yeah, so we'll see two scratch races, won't we? Heat 1 and Heat 2, and that's when you have a large field of entries into a scratch race or points race, any of the bunch races. So we'll see qualifying rounds to see who gets through to the final.
So 13 riders in each race, and it's one of these things, and the top 11 go through to the final, so there'll be 22 riders in the final. But how much effort do you want to invest in this one? We talked about backing up, as they say in the championships, backing up that performance you've already put down. It's about staying safe. The last thing you want to do is what happened before in the men's points race qualifying in the third heat, where we'd quite a nasty crash in the last few laps. But I think these two heats will be, they won't be the fastest, the top 11, so unfortunately for two riders in each of these events will not go on to contest the gold, silver and bronze. And I think the scratch race, it comes down to, when we get to the final, the first three across the line. That's as simple as that. But you can have the tactics of, you know, trying to gain a lap, but I would suspect that, you know, in a short scratch race like this in the women's fields of you know, 20 laps, I think it will be someone with a fast finish.
Yeah, exactly that. So the fastest across the line wins the scratch race, as you say, and I think there's so many technicalities when you look across the disciplines of points races and Madisons and all these things. But yeah, it's a you know, brilliant race to watch, but it is simply fastest across the line, first across the line wins. So yeah, I think it depends where you're at coming into a qualification race like this, because you want to save, as you say, as much energy as possible. But if you're someone on the back foot, you might have to expend a little bit more to try and make sure you get through to that final. But you know, we've got some huge talent in here when you're looking at the likes of Nia Evans, Team Hoob, of course Olympic medalist. She's going to be looking at just saving as much in the tank for the final as possible, whereas yes, people that really want to make sure they make that final might have to follow moves a little bit more, but hiding essentially would be my tactic to get through qualification.
You know, you can see here now, everybody or most riders are taking their turn. So what they'll do, they'll do a half a lap each. So they'll do the half lap, swing up, another rider are coming through, she's doing less, another even less still. So they'll just do, you know, turn. It's not, I'm not going to say like they say in the road, it's not a chain gang. They'll just do a slight turn to go up that time. So like you say, Rebecca, a lot of them just trying to kind of say it's more conserving energy than anything. But the slower a heat is, the faster the finish will be. And if you don't have that kind of punch at the end, you might be, you know, one of the two left out. It's a little bit like the devil take the hindmost.
Yes.
So the last two riders will be eliminated when they come across the finishing line. I say eliminated, they will not go into the final. So it's like an elimination race for two riders at the end.
It's a really good way of looking at it for qualification for scratch, isn't it? A devil take the hindmost, as we'd often refer to it in the past. Of course, the elimination race where the last across the line is eliminated. That's essentially, as you've put it, how it's going to look if you don't make it across that line as one of the fastest 11 to make it into qualification. So we might see some moves with 7 laps to go with people that don't want to take it all to an out-and-out sprint. And again, keeping safe is important. We saw that big crash in the points race qualification for the men, and you know, even if you make it through, that's going to hinder you with a bit of an injury. So people want to safely make it through. There's 6 laps to go now.
But tactics of an elimination race could come into play here if it is kind of slightly bunched up. You don't want to be caught in the bottom of the track, because if you're caught in the bottom, the riders on the outside will just keep you there, and with no place to move. As you know, you can't go into the Côte d'Azur at the bottom. So, you know, it could come down to, you know, a tactical ploy, and you know, the riders that have got experience of elimination races, they'll be aware of that.
People will be looking at it that way. I think you're absolutely right. And it's, I mean, I've been caught in that position so many times where you're in a position in the track lower down and you're absolutely convinced you're safe, and then it suddenly bunches over you. Riders with a lot of experience will know exactly what they're doing, and they'll push you out into the cold.
So 3 laps to go here, and it's bunched up. So this is going to be...
It looks like it is going to come down.
Devil take the hindmost. You don't want to be at the bottom of the track in the back positions there. So you can see them, they're moving up the track. They want room for movement, but yeah, it's going to be a very tense final couple of laps here.
Just see Nia Evans, Olympic medalist in the red and black of Hoob, just looking around. She's not going to leave this to chance. She's going to follow.
She had to do that. She was stuck at the bottom there, and she's made an effort there to come up, and that was a Liv CC rider, Owen Robertson. It was the best thing to do. Now we're seeing Nia Evans push on here. She doesn't want to take anything but a chance, but just watch out for the back 2 riders. They've just been tailed off. Big effort here coming on to the final lap, but you can see 2 riders have already been tailed off. So it looks as if you're in this main peloton, then you will go through to the final, which is unfortunate for the 2 riders that have been tailed off at the back. So as we come up into the finishing straight. Nia Evans, no danger at all, just comes across the line, only made an effort with just over a lap to go. All 11 athletes will go through, finish the first 11. A couple were tailed off, they will not go through to the final later on, the two riders in blue here. But yeah, that was a slow, cagey affair. Everybody happy with that. They'll move through to the final. A couple of unhappy customers, of course, but they get tailed off. And I can say that in Heat 2, I think we'll see some of the same.
Yeah, I was going to say, it'll be interesting to see if it follows suit. But yeah, interestingly, Nia Evans was a favourite on paper there, but she didn't, as you say, leave anything to chance. She made sure she went for that then, and actually went for a really long one, which for many people in this field would have been, you know, a real leg tester. But actually, I think she still managed to go for that long one for the last 2 laps and keep it measured. But she didn't want to risk moving too far back. You explained it so well as Devil take the hindmost, an elimination scenario if you leave it all to the line to a mass sprint, and she didn't take any chances, made sure she qualified with a measured effort. Yeah, we'll just get confirmation of those 11 riders going through.
I think there's no real surprise. I think when we see the main event for the medals with 22 riders, it'll be a little bit different to what we've seen there. That was a case of getting the job done the easiest way possible. Nobody trying to kind of take a flyer and trying to gain a lap and invest too much energy into it. So I think the same is going to be happening in this next round, as we see Sophie Langford of the Alba Development Racing Team. Job done.
That's exactly it. Job done. You want to get through as efficiently as possible, as safely as possible, and not get caught napping out.
So here we have the results. Nia Evans, Ella Barnwell, Sophie Lewis, Sophie Langton, who we've just seen pull up in the pens, Alan Roberts, Jenny Hall, King Ingram, Holly Ramsey, Lowry Richards, Katie Ann Colton, Francesca Hall, with Victoria Smith and Charlotte Sheridan eliminated. So I'm going to prepare you for the gun. See, the next time they come across the
just warn me,
line.
Brian.
Yeah. I'm going to rattle through these. Shelton Brufton, Georgia Hillard, Ella Jameson, Miriam Jessett, Amber Junker, Maddie Leach, Grace Lister, Matilda McKibben, Anna Morris, Flora Perkins, Kate Richardson, Elid Shaw and Livy Smithston.
Thanks for the warning, Brian.
Yep.
Didn't make me so jump that time. But you know, needing 2 qualification heats for the women's scratch race is brilliant for me to see, because when I started racing we often had such depleted fields, and now it's so oversubscribed or subscribed in plenty that we've got all this wealth of talent coming through the sport, and it now needs qualification heats, and that makes me very, very happy to see.
Yeah, we do have some talent in this field as well. I've just talked through the list of 13 athletes that are here. The Call Wahoo have got Flora Perkins, and that is a team that's going places in the future. Big ambitions over the next few years, British team, and I think Bob has done really well with that setup and hoping to move into the World Tour. That's the team, the kind of light blue and kind of pink, sitting in the 6th place there.
Yeah, we've seen them change sponsorship, guys, as a little bit in recent years, and Bob Varney behind the scenes again has just put so much back into the sport on the track and the road. So yeah, just looking through the list here, and plenty of talent that want to get through this qualifying round. Top 11 riders yet again in Heat 2 will go through to the final in the scratch race for the women. Someone that I've noticed in this heat is Kate Richardson of the Alba Development Road Team, race team, and she had a spectacular day out yesterday.
It's another thing that, you know, having coming from triathlon to bunch riding, I know triathletes can do very well when it comes to pursuing or individual events, but as a new cyclist riding in a bunch on the track, at least alone riding in a bunch on the roads, but riding on a bunch on the track is something completely different and alien to someone like Kate Richardson, and she'll want to be safe. She's possibly a rider. She's just outside of the track now, in the blue, and this is a whole new experience for her. And you know, that's a rider that's, you know, if she gets into the final, then you know you don't want to see her trying to gain a lap. But it's all experience for a lot of these riders. 13 riders in the race. 2 will get eliminated, a little bit, as we explained, a little bit like the elimination race, and that's how these women athletes are playing it for the moment.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. Somebody like Kate Richardson is very dangerous to let go and give a gap and then potentially take a lap, and that's what we are likely to see riders trying to do when we get to the final of this scratch race, because at the moment it is, again, just all about getting through efficiently and safely, so we won't tend to see big moves happening in these early qualifications, but I'm very excited to see what some of these riders can do later on. And yeah, Kate Richardson coming from triathlon and a bunch race, yeah, I mean, I'm sure she's had a very steep learning curve coming from TTs to coming into the bunch, especially on the velodrome, but yeah, sterling job.
Well, she's just pulling off the front now, moving up in the blue there of the Alba development racing team, and one of these things that everybody will know that, you know, I think you have to say that Nia Evans is the favourite in this race. So do you want to ride for a medal, or do you want to have the opportunity to be the new national champion? It's not the first time I've seen it that the favourite has been outmanoeuvred, and you know, they probably get these tactics as, you know, Nia Evans could be marked in the final and could be marked out of it, of course, wherever she goes. And I think she'll have to rely on her sprint to deliver the win. Well, if 2, 3, 4 riders go, you know, down the track and, you know, take a lap, then there's not a lot she can do. So yeah, I think it'll be a little bit more tactical, a bit faster in the final for sure. And you know, I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, you can't underestimate coming in as the favourite, because when you become that marked rider, you're exactly that. Every move you make is anticipated, is followed, is marked, and people will go away between these qualification rounds and go, right, how do we get the better of whoever is fastest on paper? And after Nia Evans' display of going with 2 laps, splintering the field and 2 off the back with 1 injection of pace, people are going to know what she's likely to be able to do, and they're going to go for a game plan that can outsmart that. And as you say, everybody wants to fight for this national jersey.
Well, we do have, and we'll wait to see confirmation of who qualifies, but we'll possibly have riders in the same team riding the final. Nia Evans will be on her own. I know this is, we said it all along, this is an individual championships, and you can't blatantly you know, ride as a team, but I'm sure, you know, when we get into the final, if there are multiples, then, you know, something can be played out. But now get into 5 laps to go, 4 laps to go this time, as the board says, so 1 kilometre to go. Similar to the last time, the last thing we want is an incident and your national championships have gone. So hopefully they'll all stay up and not take any risks. But the 2 riders at the back, you can see them all trying to move up, going the long way around, going to the top of the track. Nobody wants to be caught at the bottom, but look, we've seen before, there was a gap at the bottom that was helping a couple of riders, but as we see, it's starting to kind of wind itself up now, and into 2 laps to go. Just watching the back 2 riders. I know in the final we'll be watching the fronts, but for the moment, Anna Morris is the rider at the front. 1 rider being tailed off at the back. Also another rider just at the back there in the purple. She's got a lot to do, but I think it's safe for these riders at the front. But I think it's more important that who's going to finish. It's going to be a tight one at the back. It is going to be very, very tight. Oh, well, definitely this rider is eliminated, but it was very tight at the back. I think it was the rider in the purple that got eliminated there at the back. We'll just wait for confirmation on that one, but it's a tight affair.
It was. slightly different play out on that one, but Maddie Leach and Anna Morris leaving nothing to chance there, but perhaps also staking a bit of a claim on their form for later on today and showing that intent. But yeah, those two riders making a clear early move with about 3 laps to go and really putting the bunch behind into difficulty. But we'll get confirmation of the 11 riders. They've definitely made it through that heat 2 of qualifying for the women's scratch race, which we're very much looking forward to now.
Yeah, it was a short, sharp effort there, and you know, scratch racing can play out in many different ways, and sometimes it's about a selection of gear as well. Yeah, they go low if it's going to be stop-start, or go high if it's going to be a faster race, and it's some of these tactics play into it. But you know, both of the scratch heats there were, you know, slow with a bit of a sprint at the end. So I'm just looking here, it was actually Matilda McKibben and Miriam Jessett, the 2 riders that will be eliminated. So Matilda McKibben from Liv CC and Miriam Jessett of the Stolen Goat race team. That was the rider in the purple, just with the last 2 across the line. So everybody else will go through to the final. So 22 riders will contest the gold, silver and bronze. Good day, Rebecca.
Just jam-packed, isn't it? Back-to-back-to-back event, different disciplines. And as I mentioned earlier, for anyone that was joining us right from the beginning of the broadcast, I love a bunch race. I mean, I say this about everything going on. I love it all. I love track cycling. But yeah, the bunch races are absolutely thrilling, as we just get confirmation now of the qualification 2 results for the scratch race. And I am very, very excited for this finale.
You know, we're back tonight as well. So yeah, there we have it. Miriam Jessett and Matilda McKibben were the 2 riders that never made it through. Okay, so thanks for joining us for session 3. We'll have session 4 tonight, where we will have the men's sprint quarterfinals. Women's Kieran. Fancy a bit of Kieran.
Got it all today.
We will have the women's scratch final, of course, and you know, we talked about backing up rides, so men's points race. So thanks for joining us so far in these championships. Don't forget, we will be on later on this evening at 7 PM UK time. If you want to see some fast and furious British Championship action, then join us then. On behalf of Rebecca and myself, thanks for joining us.